You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular Monday, July 18th meeting of the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. It's 6:30, so we'll get started. Let me start off by introducing everybody to Gretchen Smith, who has joined us as our Planning Board Secretary and Clerk. So welcome, Gretchen. We're looking forward to working with you.
Turn the air conditioner off.
Your mic on?
It's only for the recording equipment.
We'd have to turn off the fans and the AC.
Yes, we do.
And then you're going to be the person that moves it back and forth for everybody speaking? Absolutely. All right, I'll do my very best.
Look at that. Man knows what he's doing.
Let me also announce that I've received an email from Richard Murray, who is unable to join us this evening, but we still have enough people to...
Turn the fans off.
All right, turn the fans off and the air...
The air conditioning off, then.
Turn the fan on.
I don't believe there are any changes in the posted agenda that I'm aware of.
Now, the agenda stands as published. It's possible that 2 or 3 of the agenda items may not move forward as to the extent identified on the agenda, but all items will be considered this evening.
Thank you. We've all received the planning consultant's notes.
Yes.
May I have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Motion by Eric, second by Woody. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. As far as minutes, we received from Art the minutes of the regular meeting of June 6th and the special meeting of June 20th. Have you had a chance to look them over?
Yes.
Are there any corrections, changes you wish to see made?
Nope.
Hearing none, may I have a motion to accept both sets of minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Sharon, second.
Second.
Second by Eric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I abstain. I wasn't.
Edna abstains because she was not present at the meeting. The report of June 15th, 2016. I do not have that report.
I don't have the copy of the resolution with me, but I read the resolution of the ZBA in the case of Antonell and Williams. What is of interest to the planning board is that the ZBA, counter to the discussion that occurred here by Mr. Wheeler and Mr. Antonell, the ZBA, in its decision, said that the applicant must come back to the planning board for special permit and site plan review. No application has been submitted to my knowledge to date, but the ZBA did determine that they were not wholly grandfathered, as was the contention.
Okay.
Interesting.
Any correspondence and announcement?
Status of the zoning review effort of the revision of the proposed local law that we mentioned at the last meeting was placed on the desk of the town board members, I believe the following Monday. The town board is holding a continuation of public hearing next Monday evening and could possibly act that evening in terms of a secret determination and an adoption. That's a could possibly only, but the thing is that there is continuation of the hearing next Monday evening.
Okay, the only other thing I believe you all received by email today, notification regarding upcoming planning classes, one of which will be taking place at the Wallace Center, I believe. So if you haven't gotten your credits for the year, I'd encourage you to look at that notification and see if anything's of interest to you. It is 6:35, so we will open the section of the meeting having to do with public hearings. First up, at 6:35 p.m., Rhinebeck Gardens Group, LLC, Garden Way, NYS 308 to Astor Drive, special use permits, wetlands permit, and site plan approval. This is the conduct of a combined public hearing on applications for amendments to special use permits, wetlands permit, site plan approval, granted by the Planning Board on September 19, 2011, in the matter of Phase 3 of Gardens at Rhinebeck, then consisting of 92 residential condominium-type dwelling units and associated site improvements on a 24.45-acre tax map parcel listed within the Rural Agricultural District and the town's LWRA, and now reduced to 76 dwelling units, and continuing to be the third and final phase of the overall gardens at Rhinebeck, being classified as an unlisted action under seeker. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me just check here. I think that, okay, everything indicated that we haven't heard anything back from the county yet, so that's.
Primary approach to the board. We
Okay.
received 6 more receipts.
You want to give them to Gretchen? Okay.
Does everybody, does the board have to see, like, the pictures, the public? Should we?
He wants to display the elevations at the same time as the site plan, so kind of an interaction.
Well, I can sort of see at the angle you've got it, so if you can. Well, if it doesn't work, we'll fix it.
Maybe take this, put it in the front.
Maybe I'll just start, kind of give it over.
Yep.
Can I bring this over there a little closer? Thank you. Good evening. My name is Christopher Lupine with the Chazen Companies. Thank you for coming this evening. Kind of give you a brief overview of the project. Phase 3 consists of 76 units. Previously, it was 92 units. The plan has been amended from when it was last approved in February of 2015. The intent behind this is to respond to the market conditions for which the applicant has received input from potential buyers. They had units which were more geared towards 1 and 2 bedroom units. They're looking to do 2 and 3 bedroom units. So overall, the number of bedrooms are decreasing, but the number of buildings themselves are decreasing. In general, from the previous approved Phase 3 layout, which, once again, it was approved in September of 2011, and then they got reapproval for it in February of 2015. The roadways themselves have stayed the same in terms of the entryway off of Garden Way. For those of you who were at the community meeting, a number of you asked if we can actually put a stake in the ground and identify those locations of the roadway entries. They were done so that day, so hopefully everybody who was at the meeting has an opportunity to look at where those roadways would be intersecting Garden Way. Generally, we followed the same access drive configuration for the area to the east. It's pretty simple to stay within the same configuration for Heather Way because we only had 2 units. On the southern portion of the site, instead of having the loop road, we've ended it with a cul-de-sac in here with a planter within the center of it. The biggest change on Phase 3 was the elimination of the additional units that were bordering Phase 2 units. There were 3 additional overall buildings here and 12 units, which have since been eliminated. It's been replaced with more of a pond for aesthetics reasons, similar to what's within the horseshoe of the landscaping area within Phase 2. The stormwater management for this site is similar to what was previously approved. It'll consist of bioretention areas, overflowing, and then entering into the off-site drainage channel, flowing to the north. Sanitary sewer would be connected to Phase 2 and conveyed to the existing pump station within Garden Way as contemplated within the original approval. In water, there are already connections established for the site, which were established when the road was actually built. The overall landscaping plan conforms to comments we had previously received from the CAC. We kept in in tune with the proposed landscaping and in terms of both for the around the buildings and surrounding the entire site and within our stormwater management facilities. All lighting, similar to the previous approval, is LED lighting throughout the site. It's kind of an overview of the project. If you'd like, we can go through the elevations, and if you want to open up to the public afterwards, or how would you like to proceed?
I think I'd like to get the reports from the field visit and
Okay.
the CAB, and then waterfront advisory. So let's start with the report from the people who made the site visit. Looks like Woody, Jesse, and Eric.
That's right. Eric and I went.
Okay.
I'll speak for myself. Other than the elevations changing and the design of the buildings being a little different, I think it's an excellent approach the way they're doing it. They're responding to a marketing requirement or request for certain types of housing. I see no problem with it, and I think it's the right thing to do.
I agree. Basically, they're getting a pond in exchange for another building, and so that's less impact on the visual environment. And they seem to be very careful about how they're laying it out and responsive to the existing sections and then also to the new area. So I agree, it's a well thought out plan.
Okay. Ryan, are you?
Good evening, Board. From a CAB perspective, we just advise that they continue with what was agreed upon back in 2011 with the chairperson then, and as well the board then. From the Waterfront Advisory Committee and the LWRP, I sent Chris, I don't know if you got it. Did you got it today? Yeah. Our report, and we advise them just to continue with the report from 2011 as well, and also that they resolve the tree removal within their landscape plan, because some of the trees will be removed in that one area by the first drive-in. We didn't have an issue with them moving the one group of units up closer to Astor Drive. And other than that, best practices concerning wetlands. And yeah, I think that's everything in a nutshell. All right. Thank you.
As I indicated at the beginning of this public hearing, we're still waiting for the reply from Dutchess County. That has not come back to us yet. But we have received some comments by our planning board engineer. I'll ask Art to go through those in general.
Oh, there are I believe five comments from Ray Jakowski.
You have those, Chris? No. Okay.
Oh, you have not received these? Okay. The first is for planning board consideration. Ray points out that the on-site freshwater wetlands were delineated about 5 years ago and recommended that the board consider requesting the town consulting wetland scientist to verify the validation of the wetlands. The Ray is looking for the correspondence between DEC, between the applicant and DEC concerning the SWIP. Points out that it's he didn't see any technical issues with the SWIP, but was looking for something from DEC that said DEC it found it to be acceptable. Pointed out generally that at some point in time, after planning board action, the amount of the performance bond might be recalculated. These are a couple of prospective zoning issues. Proposed buildings 46 and 48 appear to be encroaching upon the drainage easement. Secondly, a portion of proposed building 58 is shown directly on the front setback line, and that the proposed patios and decks associated with buildings 55 and 54 are shown right on the boundary of the conservation area. In both of those last two instances, he points out that it may not be possible to construct the building without violating either the setback or the conservation area, and simply ask that that be looked at. And the final comment he had regards the additional, the installation of an additional valve on the water system. Those are, whether they be major comments or minor comments, as would be considered by the board, the fact that the planning board has not received response from county and 30 days have not yet passed means that the planning board cannot take action on the the project this evening. And as a consequence, certainly the applicant, Chris and Chazen, have certainly sufficient time to respond to Morris's comments in the interim.
Yeah, just for the benefit of the board, with regards to the drainage easement, we went through this previously in 2011. The units which the board approved then had units within the drainage easement, and that was previously found to be acceptable.
Can't really hear you.
I can't hear you.
With regards to the building within the drainage unit, that is not a change from what was previously proposed. That was previously approved by the town and its consultants, and it's no different than what we're proposing now. With regards to patios being not within the setback, but sitting on the setback line, I contend that as long as we are not within the setback, that is acceptable. If you would like us to revisit our layout and give you an additional 6 inches or a foot on those patio areas, we can certainly do that if the board requests that, but it's noted that we're not within the setback on his comments.
You are, we note you are copied. so
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna-
the letter is dated today, so it may have been a hard copy transmittal to you and not an email, I don't know. In either case, you can have this copy,
Thank you.
Chris, and
Excuse me, Art. If that's the case, is that, then, does that nullify those questions, or?
I don't think it nullifies the questions that
No.
are being raised by our
No, I
planning
mean,
board.
if it's on the line of for the patios, for instance, I mean, the line is the setback area. Anything up to the line is acceptable, yes?
yeah, and Ray is just pointing out that it's directly on the line and that any...
He said beyond the line.
That any, basically any contractor error by a matter of inches would create a problem.
Okay.
That's, I think that's the point that's being made. Anyway, Chris can respond to Ray on those particular points.
I think that it's an engineer-to-engineer discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when the results come back, we'll make our decisions based on the results.
Okay.
All right, at this point, this is a public hearing, and I will open it up for public comment. I would ask you to come up to the microphone one at a time, introduce yourself. I have no idea who's all here for this public hearing, but I would ask people to be as succinct as possible.
Not repetitive.
If someone has made your comment, then if you could courteously let somebody who has a new comment go ahead so that we don't keep repeating the same things, and we'll try and keep this moving along. You may start. Thank you.
Before this gentleman begins, for Gretchen, no one submitted any comments in writing concerning this proposal today? Okay.
We are confirming that we did not receive any comments in writing. Had we received comments in writing, we would read those into the record, but we're confirming with our clerk that we have not received any comments in writing.
My name is Anil Talang. Barb Lewis and I live at 86 River Road, directly facing Building 55 and 56 and Phase 3 and Phase 2 of Astor Gardens. This is a very professional and a very professional presentation, but we receive it at every meeting as a fait accompli. And I would quote you on your visits, which we were not informed of, your visits with the very professional people you have here. And you said, I see no problem with it. And you said, there are less impacts on the visual environment. Well, I would point out the last time we were called to a meeting was February 3rd, 2015, a brutal snowstorm. We were unable to dig out from our driveway with Brennan. We had submitted, and I have 6 copies of them here, we had submitted written comments in advance, but because we were 5 minutes late, you refused to hear us at that meeting, okay, in this snowstorm. Now, those comments remain, and they come to this issue of the terraces and balconies on the border of the setback easement. Whether the pad exists an inch or not in front onto the easement is not the issue. The issue is whether these units now are open to the outside in our face. At the time prior, this is ridiculous. At the time prior, when that happened, you said, well, they said, well, these will be for retirees and old people, and that's not a problem. That was what they said. And let's just give it to them. Well, now, in phase 2, there's a cop from the Bronx. I've spoken to his wife. She can't do anything about it. You can hear him when he's out drinking on his patio for everybody. On the 4th of July, there were not just complaints from us, but complaints from other people sent to state police. He had an entire fireworks show right in his backyard, right? So this has changed markedly from beyond what it had been. And yeah, it was great fun, not for the dogs, not for the cats, not for the wildlife, not for every existing component of our lives before Astor Gardens, before they sold out what we hold in common. And so I would present to you that you, in your judicious and careful survey, only really hear the professionals, and we just take up the slack. And we are not getting a full, complete, balanced judgment on your behalf, and that's what we need. The complaints that we had on February 3rd, 2015 were 3 things. You spoke about less impact on the visual environment. What the pros here were required to do was put a landscape buffer between us and between them. On the letter I sent to you, and which you're willing to, which you can see here again, their landscape buffer around phase 2 is perfect with trees every 10 feet. Ours, we have 2 trees, and they're about 60 feet apart, and there's nothing in between, over 140, 180 feet. And this is right on the border of the buffer. There is no buffer. It's a perfunctory gesture which has failed. That's point 1. Second was the idea, this is a precious place, Rhinebeck. We don't need to light the sky. The second point was ambient lighting, downward cast to the ground. The lighting fixtures they've recommended for phase 3 are 15 feet tall, if I'm not mistaken, and as the ones which, and the picture, I have pictures in the February 2015 letter to you where at dawn, at all hours, you see the tall lights which they have along the road, and all know which put light into the sky, and they want to put, I think, 43 lights like that on phase 3. Wasted light. We don't need to light the sky. We need to light whatever terrain there is, and you have not held them to that restriction. And you're asking for larger units, which means presumably larger family units in these units. It's a privilege to have the Metro North or Amtrak take you right to the door from New York. People who have jobs have got weekend homes, and they can bring all that here. That's fine, but we have the right to have our Commonwealth protected as well, and that is not being done by this planning board. We need to have a better landscape buffer. We need to have better control of ambient lighting. We need to revisit the question of decks and patios now that they are making larger units with clearly larger noise and right in our face. That should be those, and they have not performed on those first 2. And the third, allowing the continuation of these external, out to the door, out to the open air, in our face, should be revisited in light of their non-performance on the two initial protections to us which they promised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I didn't bring enough copies, but if you just take one and pass it on, that way you can see better what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think I have one less copy, so if you guys share, you'll be fine. Okay. My name is Gil Denninger. After 40 years of living on Long Island, my wife and I decided to move up to Rhinebeck, and we fondly describe living in Rhinebeck as living in the Hamptons of the Hudson Valley. We love it here. But I wanted to speak to you tonight about my concerns regarding the complete uprooting of approximately 20 mature trees to accommodate the construction of two 4-unit condo structures in Phase 3. I'll use their form. It's right here. These 2 units right here. Okay? It's right in the middle. And again, on the topography map on page 2, it's large enough to be noted. As we were selecting the granite, the carpeting, the fixtures of our new unit last September, my wife and I had the privilege of meeting with Mr. Silver to go through all the what we needed. At that time, I asked him some salient questions about living in the gardens. He came back to me and he mentioned he would try not to displace it because our unit is right here. Well, the first 4 units, they're right here. So he said he would try not to displace the trees and wildlife who habitat within that area, as previously planned in their first submission. With his reputation in our community, I trusted and believed in Mr. Silva and in his vision. My thoughts were also bolstered by the Hudson Highland Properties' own website, and I want to quote, "Together with all 3 units, there'll be a total of 253 units in this beautiful townhome community. It is situated on over 100 lush green acres. I guess they categorize these trees as casualties, okay, because maybe they're not green or lush enough for them. As you approach Rhinebeck from either Market or Montgomery Streets, there are flags attached to the entrance signs that read Tree City, USA. There's also a sign near the fairgrounds that says they have had a 5-year participation program with the Arbor Day Foundation because of their stewardship of the land, Rhinebeck. With all the area they have to work with, why not come up with a solution instead of designing this area for complete deforestation? The only crime these trees ever committed is that they're just being in the way. You have the power to save them." On several site maps that I provided, they're not on this map, by the way, it's very interesting, they didn't show that, there are buff lines indicating town wetland buffer. In certain areas, they took great pains to indicate that there were at least 100 feet between the buffer and town watershed lines noted on page 3. However, one of those buff lines, believe it or not, transverses straight through the heart of this unit. Come here, actually, it's right here, straight right through, okay? I'm not sure why that is. Also noted on page 4, which was spoken about, is that the road direct access, which is this road right in here, right here, is situated right next to a drainage culvert. And why didn't they put it a little further north? Even putting it through where the models are. Somebody driving too fast going south on this road, because there's also a bunch of trees here, may not see it and go right into the culvert. Very easy. Okay? As promised, I was at the May Planning Board meeting. They said that notices were sent out throughout the gardens, alerting current residents if interested in the new Phase 3 development to gather at the old models on Monday, June 20th at 4 o'clock. The group of homeowners who arrived there were then informed this on-site inspection was mainly for the planning board members who were there and not for us, but if we would like, we could silently tag along. No questions were permitted. And then we listened to Messrs. Lapine and Silva discuss with the planning board how the new drawings differed from the previous approved submissions. With that, half the people left. There's nothing else to do. They can't say anything. All they can do is walk around like little soldiers. If informing the residents were their main objective, as purported in May, Mr. Silva and Mr. Lapine should have held a dedicated Phase 3 site meeting specifically for the garden residents, probably at the clubhouse, air-conditioned, and with a full presentation followed by question and answers. This never happened. I also noticed on the plans that they're proposing to have a centralized refuge collection points versus individual collection receptacles. One is even, if I can see it here, one is right here, next to the entrance of somebody's unit. I'm not sure who's going to buy that one. But it's right here, and there's some other ones. So why is that? I strongly urge the planning board to save the forest, by not accepting the current plan as drawn. Chazen Engineering should return by making the necessary changes showing their commitment to Rhinebeck, the land, and its environment. The garden residents, both present and future, should be able to take pride in knowing they live in such an eco-friendly community. I think these are just some of the valid concerns that should be addressed tonight, and I'll leave the technical stuff up to the planning board. Thank you for your attention.
If I may, our office did notice a few refuse enclosures that were placed in. The refuse enclosures that are shown on their plan are in error. It was a technical oversight by our office. They have since been removed from the plans.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Yes. You do.
Hi, I wanted to I'm Jane Glucksman, I'm at Laurel Lane in Phase 2, and I wanted to find out if adequate studies were done for occupancy of the pool and clubhouse, if there was going to be, if it was mandated to make any changes to accommodate more people in these facilities, and if there were going to be any improvements, and what the history of the occupancy was dictated. Was it dictated for X amount of units, and can it accommodate an additional 70-odd units and their occupants?
Thank you for the question. Chris, David, do you want to address that?
I can't comment on the occupancy rate of the clubhouse. What I can comment on is the special use permit dedicated for this project indicated a number of condominiums at 255 and a specific number of bedroom units.
The original.
The original approval for this project.
And are you assuming?
And that included the one clubhouse for all 3 phases of this project. We are still within the bedroom count, so that would lead me to believe that the occupancy rate, or what was anticipated, is what's there.
And
I can't, once again, there was a clubhouse that was constructed as part of the overall project for Phase 1, 2, and 3. It was to accommodate Phase 1, 2, and 3 and a number of bedroom units. We are, and I'm giving you I can only give you the information that's at my hand. There's a special use permit for Phase 1, 2, and 3. The clubhouse that was constructed, the actual structure itself, and all the amenities were constructed to satisfy all of Phase 1, 2, and 3. I don't believe, from the records I have in my office, that there are a number of individuals that were broken down. It was based on units and bedrooms. And we fall within the special use permit that was granted for Phase 1, 2, and 3. It was part of the clubhouse.
And that was approved by the town
Zone,
meeting.
it,
The size of the pool.
well, let's remember how far back this project goes, and I can't honestly remember.
This goes back to 1987, when it was approved. And Phase 3, just so you know, for everybody, it was approved as part of the overall environmental impact study that was done. We came back to you in 2011 with the plan that was previously approved in 2004, the site plan, and we then revisited that plan in 2015. And each step along the way, we've made the overall plan better than what you're seeing back in 2004. Some of you had not seen that plan when we presented it in 2004, but versus what you have now, it is a 180-degree turnaround.
Oh, next, anyone else wishing to make public comment?
My name is Madeline Swirsky, and I live in Phase 2 of the Gardens. And my biggest concern is the landscaping. Part of the sales pitch of the Gardens was that the residents could garden in their own beds, and that everything was taken care of otherwise in terms of the grounds and so on. Come to find out that, just so you know, the beds are pure clay and boulders, and you can ask anybody here who gardens, it's almost impossible to dig in. There are no watering facilities to water the common ground, so that even when a brand-new tree is planted, the day it's planted, it's not watered because there's no place to get water from. And if the tree dies, it gets replaced. That's the way it's done. Even a larger concern I have, one of the trees that did get removed and replaced, the roots were in complete water, even though it hadn't rained for some time, because the ground is pure clay around the root ball. So there's no drainage, things don't grow well, and it's sort of, if the tree can make it, good luck. If it doesn't and it dies, the homeowners association will eventually just keep replacing them. So in my view, Phase 2 is already done, but if Phase 3 is going to do the same thing, it seems to me that the landscaping affects the value for all of us, and plus we want to keep it looking nice for the town, so it seems to me there should be some kind of watering system in place, including, just so you know, the middle units and the current residents do not have spigots in the back to water their own little plots in the back. So they run hoses from the front of their units through their unit to the back. So to me, that's something that needs to be addressed as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there someone else wishing to make public comment? Well, I think, yes.
Joanne Staubby, Phase 1.
You need to come up here for the purposes of the...
Joanne Staubby, Rosemary Way, Phase 1. Yay for Phase 1. We have problems too. I would like someone to explain to me about the natural gas tanks that I understand they're going to be heated with propane. And I would like an explanation of where those tanks are going to be, underground, above ground.
Okay.
That's my question.
Hello. Rich Rang. We are considering propane, however, pardon me?
He said
I said Rich
Rang.
Rang. We are considering installing propane tanks for the units because a lot of the people from the previous phases had expressed they'd prefer to have a fossil fuel as opposed to an electric home. They're going to be below ground. They will be buried. You won't see them on the surface. We're not doing a single tank farm per se and routing it throughout. There'll be tanks near each of the buildings. Okay?
Thank you.
Available to Phase 1 as well?
No, just for Phase 3. It's just going to be at the units themselves for Phase 3.
Yes, ma'am. Pardon? Yes, you may.
Still Madeline. I I just wanted to know, this may be premature, but I wanted to know, I heard that eventually when the third phase is finished, Garden Way will become a town road. And my concern about that is that at this point, sometimes, you know, during the night, it's lovely and quiet there, most of the time, except for the fireworks. You can hear like a truck, like a pickup truck, you know, sort of cutting, I assume cutting through. It doesn't seem like it's stopping or pulling in anywhere. And my concern would just be, is there any consideration being given to the speed or how that will be managed? Because it is a very heavily residential road, and I don't know, you know, who would take care of that at night. And anyway, my request would be, even though it's an extra road for the homeowners to plow and maintain, I think the advantage of keeping it within the development is much more significant than having it be a town road. That's just my opinion. Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes?
Noel Smith, Gardenia Drive. I hate that name. I just want to go on record, not necessarily a complaint, just an observation from an engineering background, and actually at the pool and the community center daily. It's almost empty, devoid of old people, retired people, children, Monday to Thursday. And then they descend. It's fine. It's noisy. It's a pain in the poots. However, I just want to go on record as saying I don't have a really good feeling that 76 more multiple family dwellings with children is going to make any of that better. In fact, just the reverse. I understand it was done a long time ago, this planning. Things change. Also, a long time ago, single-family units were being planned. They don't have as many children in single-family units as 2- and 3-bedroom units do. We won't get into the 2-car garages and stuff, which I just got into. So I just want to go on record as saying I don't think this is a very good idea to have that community facility be available to the 76. Something can be done for them, or something should be done to change that, which I think is probably unreasonable given that that's a done deed already. That's my point.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ann Mahaffey. I'm Phase 1. I live in Phase 1. And I find it very difficult to walk into town along, what's the road, folks? 308. Astor Drive. No, 403, whatever. 403? Yes. Yes, I'm positive, and I'm very sober. There's a narrow walkway, which is no wider than this in many, many sections. A lot of people I know wish to go to the library, wish to go into town, and not want to or not able to drive. And I'm wondering, I understand the man who did the Woods had a deal where he paid for part of the walkway that goes from the Woods into a northern part of town. Is there anything afoot so that those of us who wish to walk and need to walk can do so?
There's nothing afoot that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. As we indicated earlier, based on the engineer's letter and the lack of response from the county, we will be continuing this public hearing until the
15th of August.
At 6:35?
Oh, the first one, 6:35.
At 6:35. So we will be back here Monday, 1/5, August 15, 6:35 p.m. This public hearing will be continued. You are welcome to return. We hopefully will have some responses from Chris and the others on his team, and by that time, we should have the response from Dutchess County. 30 days will have expired in that case.
Could I
anyway.
just share one thing as it relates to landscaping? And I know there are some individuals that have just moved to Phase 2 who weren't part of the amended approval for Phase 2. And during that time, the group, the developer group, also went through and obtained approval for a revised landscape buffer that surrounds the community. That buffer, in terms of landscaping, may have been doubled or tripled in terms of the number of species that were planted along that entire perimeter. There are some residents here this evening, some that I've seen, some that have spoken. A number of residents, in addition to that, had vegetation planted in their yard. Now, the group also watered these plants consistently. There were individuals who had lost trees in their yard, who they didn't have the obligation to plant trees in other individuals' yards in the community, but they did. And they replaced them when they needed to. With regards to Phase 2, in terms of, there's a comment about they don't want to save trees. If I showed you the plan that was originally approved when they purchased Phase 2 in a dilapidated state, the number of trees in that site that you see today have more than doubled. The beautiful pond with the trees surrounding it, that wasn't even part of the approval. That was Mr. Silver's idea. He added over 100 trees there and all the aquatic plantings within there. The additional pond here was once again Mr. Silver's idea with the addition of trees. So to comment that one doesn't consider the neighborhood or Tree City USA, it is a statement that's not supported based upon his past history of what he's done for this project. And sir, I'm just making my point because some people haven't been here. This has been ongoing since, I've been involved in it since 2010, but from the landscaping perspective, he significantly increased what was approved for this project, and he didn't have to do that because it was approved.
Thank you,
But he
Chris.
did that in his own will.
We need to move along
So
here.
I just think it's worth noting in the event that other comments come up about that.
Art has a comment, and I have something I want to say as well. This project, obviously by your presence here tonight, has generated a lot of interest in the community. Let me say that Gretchen is a new clerk. Margarita was here before. It is very, very difficult for our clerks to handle everybody coming in wanting to understand this project. I have asked through Chris to have whatever plans they have available made available to you through your homeowners association at some place of your choosing, whether that's your community center or whatever, because our clerks are not empowered or educated to be able to answer your questions. The questions have to be answered in this public meeting or through the applicants. So I don't know if that's been accomplished yet, Chris, or not, but I'm trying to take a little pity on our staff here who are overworked beyond belief, who just simply can't accommodate your request. We want your questions to be answered, but we're not the people who can interpret them for you here. So are we working on something like that?
We indicated at the last, we had that email exchange. We delivered to the sales office all the elevations, the plans that you see before us.
Okay.
We also brought additional copies here to Town Hall as well that was requested. So if you have any other locations where you'd like us to bring additional plans, let me know now, and I can bring them tomorrow.
Can you put them on a website, or can you make them available to the members on River Road, Home Road? Can you deliver some to us, or we'll come and pick them up from you, and we'll deliver them to all of our people along the road?
11 by 17s?
Well, I don't think it's a terrible burden to ask you to go over to the model office or, he's already made them available there. That office has a regular schedule, that it's open. And I think this is the best way to accommodate all of you who want additional information without putting us in a difficult situation, because we don't want to turn you away. It's not our purpose here, but it is to get you the information. Eric?
I just want to verify and that our site plan review was based on an approved 2011 plan and a variance from that plan only. And as such, that was what our review was based on, not the overall, what the landscaping was like, all that. It was just what was changed from that approved plan to a new plan. And from what we saw, everything was adjusted in favor of further aesthetics, not in detriment to those.
Thank you for that comment, Art.
I'll respond to that first. Eric, you are correct. The application is for an amendment of the previously approved Phase 3 site plan. Only other comment I was going to make is that the applicant understands that the applicant needs to respond to the town engineers, planning board engineers' comments. The applicant is, of course, free to make any modifications in the plan to perhaps address any of the comments that were made this evening, if you consider that appropriate. And I think it's important to point out that the planning board has scheduled continuation of the public hearing to August 15th, and at that same point in time, the planning board would, of course, be discussing any of the comments that were made this evening or will be made in the interim. In preparation for that discussion, there are 2 or 3 comments that were made this evening that I'm going to evaluate or research further and give some advice to the planning board, guidance to the planning board between now and August 15th. So you have that advice on the August 15th meeting. There are some minor modifications in terms of demographic impacts associated with the change in the types of units that should at least be documented for the record. I don't believe they're going to be substantial in terms of burden on community facilities, recreation, schools, et cetera, but those matters need to be documented for the record.
Okay. Any other comments from any other members of the planning board? Thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you for your comments. If you want to hang out together and chat, I would just ask that you do it outside because it gets pretty noisy in the lobby there.
And it's probably cooler outside.
Thank you.
Kids, that has an impact on the school system. That can be quite dramatic.
That is true too, but we were told that
Thank
these
you.
are, now I don't know.
All right, folks, I'm going to ask you all to move on out. We have a lot more business to accomplish here this evening.
Like 6 more public hearings.
Folks?
Obviously, they're going to sell to
They're-
whoever wants to buy.
That is true. But these are the queries they're getting. This is the demographic of the queries they're getting.
Maybe the remaining.
That's right. Oh, boy.
All right, folks.
Up the door.
We're going to move on to the second public hearing of this evening. This is for Renee Schmidt, 168 Hilltop Road, special use permit and site plan application, site plan approval. This is the conduct of a combined public hearing. Come on, everybody. Little help here. Conduct of a combined public hearing on applications for special use permit and site plan review and approval in the matter of the construction of a 1,620 square foot 2-bedroom living quarters within an existing barn for interim use as principal dwelling and subsequently as caretaker's apartment and 5 accessory agricultural farm structures on a 98-acre tax map parcel listed within the rural countryside district, being the subject of an application for area variances submitted to the ZBA and classified as an unlisted action under seeker. I believe that we are,
Wait till Woody close the door.
my marshal at arms has now cleared the room, and we'll try and move ahead. I believe we're in compliance, John, with posting and notification and,
Yes, I dropped off the posting to Freeman today, so they had a copy of it. And the posting on the property, photos were delivered.
ZBA variance is still pending, I understand.
okay. Am I correct that the ZBA variance is still pending?
Correct. No decision has been made yet.
Okay. All right. This project has been declared exempt from review by Dutchess County. They have a new procedure they're following, and only certain claims applications have to be referred to them, and this one is exempt. So, John, we're ready for your application presentation.
Just to confirm before I start, last month when I was here, I touched on some areas that I shouldn't have, and I made it longer. Today, I'm just presenting to the, well, you made a comment that I did some of the other boards' information.
Right.
Today, I'm just going to present the overall plan, what's going to be up on the property, and an overall picture. Is that correct?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I'm here for, my name is John Imperato. I'm here for Renee Smith. He has a piece of property on Hilltop Road. It's a dead end. It's 98.10 acres. On the property now, it was vacant land. We got approval to put a barn up. There is a barn on the property at this time. We're here today to present some other options that are going to go along with this. Just recently, we got accepted into the Ag District also. He would like to turn this into a working farm with sheep, goats, llamas, and chickens at this time. There's one structure on the property now, which is an ag barn, which is located right here. The outline of the property, as you can see, on the map, it's towards the northwest end of the property. There's an existing road that comes into the property, which will be deleted and it'll be made into pasture. What we're putting onto the property, if approved, will be a barn here, or this will be a chicken coop, a barn for animals behind it. In front of it will be another in and out shed, three-sided. On the side, coming in, here's the entrance to the property. Here's Hilltop Road. Right off to the right will be another three-sided barn, and then there'll be a storage barn in back of the property on the southeast side of the property. So it'll be 5 structures plus the barn. Now the barn, we did get approval on the barn, but then we came back to the board and we're trying to get approval. Right now, it was supposed to be a caretaker's residence above the barn.
The barn.
It was originally just a barn.
Just a barn.
A barn, okay.
Yeah.
There was no
We're coming
caretaker
back.
residence.
So it's just a barn, okay, I'm sorry. It was just a barn. We came back to the board with the idea we were gonna make it a caretaker's residence, but then it changed. Mr. Smith would like to live there until a house is built, which is farther east on the property. So we'd like to make it a 2-bedroom, open floor plan, 1 bathroom. I guess it would be possibly a principal dwelling at this time until the house is approved. And then after the house is approved, possibly changing over to the house being the principal dwelling, and this going into a caretaker's quarters.
Accessory dwelling unit. The house is approved, correct?
The plans, the house is not approved. The septic is approved, and that's been through. But no, the house is not approved.
But am I correct that some foundation work has been begun?
I got an email on that. No, we had blasters come, and we got town approval. We came to the town, and both Ron and Ed were asked. We had to blast this area for the foundation. To save money, we blasted the site for the proposed site for the house. And then the stone that came out of there, because there is, when we blasted it, did come up, we asked permission to use it for the road. So yes, there, if you look there, it's not a pile of stone. There is an indentation. And the last time stone was taken out of there was just September of 15. But it wasn't dug for foundation. It is in about the right location, but all stone was left on the property and used for the driveways. Yep.
Okay, I do have one letter But let's start with a report by the Conservation Advisory Board. And we'll go back to the planning.
Good evening again, Board. We conducted a site visit, and what we found, we had no issue. We think they have everything set up. We talked about stormwater runoff of the building, and John informed me that that's going to be set up soon, and we didn't have really any issue with how the layout is, pasture-wise and buildings-wise.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Eric, I believe you made a site visit?
We did. Now, we were just looking at the barn area. We didn't look at the house area. That was not part of our visit. We looked at where the present barn is. We looked at that construction. We looked at the upstairs of that as a proposed caretaker dwelling. We looked at the rest of the grounds for the proposed sites of the other outbuildings. Saw no major difficulties with any of those. So we'll have no problem with it. At this time, are we going to go to Richard's queries here, or shall I? These are also my queries as well, so I could possibly ask them, but maybe this isn't the time.
This is your floor, so if you have questions based on your
All
site
right, well,
visit, then you should
they
proceed.
are going to, I mean, there's every indication that they're going to turn this place into a farm. That's everything they've done so far is in furthering that, and all the buildings and construction, everything shows that that's their intention. They have applied for the ag district. They're in an ag district. And if they are approved in that ag district, it's my understanding that a lot of these restrictions and variances no longer apply because it's then an agricultural operation. So do we just spend a lot of time and energy on?
Well, there is currently no agricultural operation there.
Yeah.
Well, one can't have the operation.
Operation. We are approved. The only stipulation is after a year, we could lose it if you don't make $10,000. There's some stipulation, but right now, according to Cornell, we are approved and we are an ag district. That is.
You are just recently, were you
Just
not
recent,
added? By the
yes.
Farmland Protection Board?
Yes.
As part of Dutchess County's?
By the Dutchess County Legislature, not by Cornell. By the Dutchess County Legislature and the Dutchess County Farmland Protection Board.
Right.
We are.
Those are the agencies involved.
Right.
To my knowledge, and I don't have paperwork in front of me, yes, we've been approved.
You've
And
been included in the
The ag-
new Farmland Protection Agricultural District.
Yes.
That
And-
does not necessarily mean certification, does it?
Well, my understanding is you don't get certification until you've been in operation for enough time to make these profits and make, you know. So how can we, I mean, is this a chicken and egg situation, or how do they get up their operation to the point where they can make that kind of money if they're not allowed to put up the buildings required to make that?
See, I think we, to my knowledge, and I listened, I was right there with the conversation, when he had this conversation, he had speakerphone. We don't have to do anything more.
For approval?
Yes. The only thing, we have to keep up a standard.
Right.
Which will be checked in a year.
So in that case, you know, in a year, if they don't meet that standard, they might be required to take those buildings down. However, I don't see where it's required that they can't put them up.
Edna?
I have a question. Are there any animals there now?
No.
When will there be some animals?
As soon as the facility is ready, which is the barns, which that'll be, if we get approval, we're going to start right away.
Right.
So he estimated 6 months
Are we
after
talking about
approval.
barns or essentially run-in sheds?
Oh, no. What I just said, I agree with the comment. They're actually, there'll be 3 run-in sheds and 1 storage facility off to the back, and the chicken coop will be for the animals. So there'll be run-in shed for the animals. But there won't be any separate stalls. But they will be able to get out of the weather.
So is
And one
the-
building will be completely closed in.
Which is for
That's the chicken
farm
coop, correct?
equipment.
Correct. The pole barn.
The pole barn is for farm equipment, correct?
Feed, it'll be for the, yes,
Right.
yeah.
But there are no enclosed barns for the animals that you'll be doing rotational
Except for the
grazing.
chickens will be.
So, what are we saying? That only the chicken coop is required for the housing of animals, and within 6 months, there will be other animals in addition to chickens there?
In 6 months, approximately 6 months after we get the approval, we hope to have the structures up if we're approved.
Now, you're still
And after
before
the
zoning-
structures are up, then they're actually bringing in, first, they're going to bring in sheep. And then after that, the other animals.
Oh, we're still before the zoning board.
Yeah, still before zoning.
We're still before the zoning board.
Correct. I said after, I'm not
Yeah.
pushing anything. After, she asked me a time limit. After we get approvals on everything, we're hoping to do it in 6 months.
But if they are an agricultural operation, are they not then not required for these zoning variances?
I will say that, go ahead, Art.
I was going to say, I think this is perhaps, I'm going to phrase it with perhaps. There's a distinction here between two different types of uses occurring. One's the construction of a principal dwelling, or the conversion of a barn to the principal dwelling. That, in my interpretation, is not an exempt activity just because there would be agricultural use on the property. Arguably, the construction of the accessory structures for farm use could be an exempt activity or subject to either the expedited site plan review requirement that's set forth in the town zoning law. The bottom line is there's an application pending before the ZBA regarding this entire package. And unless the ZBA, or ZEO and ZBA were to determine that these facilities are exempt, the application before the planning board stands.
Well,
You can't set it aside.
My understanding of the making that a primary residence is because that's required to have, you can't have a secondary residence before a primary. So they're calling it a primary, but it's really an equipment barn.
Let's
No,
not.
it
No, it's
will
not.
continue to be used as a caretaker's residence.
Well, equipment barn with a caretaker's residence above.
Well, apparently that's the ultimate plan. In the short run, the request is very simple. The request is that the barn become a principal dwelling.
Now,
There is no future guarantee. That's what the application
But
is
is it
for.
really required that it be a primary dwelling, principal dwelling, if that's not their purpose, and they're only doing it to jump through the hoops that we put in front of them?
It is the only dwelling on the property,
I understand it's the only one, it's not the only one planned.
but it's the only one there now.
I understand, but as a farming operation, they're not under the same constrictions as they are under.
Construction of a dwelling, they are.
We are actually planning, the septic, we did go to town.
Yeah.
The septic is, we are planning for this. It's not like it's a thought.
Yeah.
We are in the process, so it's not like we're thinking about doing it. This will be done if we're approved. This will be done. It's not like we might not do it or something like that. We're in the process, but this process came first.
Right.
Because he wanted to get the animals started. That's the only reason why that house didn't come.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Are you saying that if it is an agricultural property,
I don't know what frankly, I don't, I'm going to cut you right there. I don't know what an agricultural property is as it's being argued by a couple of people. I own property in an ag district, and I don't have agricultural property.
But you don't have an agricultural operation on it.
Well, I arguably do.
All right, then.
All right, let's
Okay.
let Edna
my
finish her question.
here.
All righty.
Let me just do a supposition. The ZBA approves accessory buildings to house animals,
That's
right?
right.
Now, so then it becomes a farm, right? They build those accessory buildings, they have animals on the farm. In that case, can they not have an accessory dwelling to take care of the farm under current law?
They can have an accessory dwelling if it complements a principal dwelling.
That's my question. Is that true
And
for a farm?
and that's what the situation is here. They are applying for the conversion of the second floor of that existing barn to a principal dwelling at this point in time, and it will remain a principal dwelling if and until there is a new principal dwelling constructed on the property, and that principal dwelling is constructed with requisite permit, requisite CO, et cetera, at which point they would ask that the principal dwelling, the second floor of the barn, be reclassified as a accessory dwelling or a caretaker's apartment.
See, my question to that is, I totally understand it, but the only reason we're doing a principal dwelling first is because the board said we couldn't
That's right.
do a,
Because of zoning laws.
right.
Yeah.
If we could do, I'd rather not have it, if it's possible. We're going to do whatever necessary.
No,
We're not here to.
You have to have
yeah.
a principal in order to have accessories.
But-
you have, when you do the site plan for the new house, make it part of your site plan, where it then automatically flops? We did that with...
We actually are going through with that, and we talked to Ron when this was all going through, and he said, you can start out with this. It's been a mix-up. I think there's a communication problem between the board, nothing against you, I know it's hard, I've been on the village boards. There's a communication problem between employees and the board. And sometimes it's not our fault. We're getting information, we're doing the best we can and bringing it up, and then we come to you and some things are changed, which we'll do whatever we have to do, but this all started because they said we couldn't do it together. You know, we tried to do everything together, but the house is going to take longer to build. So then they said, well, do this first. So then we went over and did this first. And now we're running into a problem, well, this is our principal dwelling. The only reason this is our principal dwelling is because you told us not to do the house.
Well, in
hold it,
fairness,
hold it.
in
John-
fairness, this plan has changed
Oh,
several
definitely.
times.
And we discussed, yeah, but,
So,
yeah,
you know, it has been a moving target.
definitely. And we're not here to do anything wrong. We want to follow the rules and do the best we can. And that's why we should probably clarify, because I don't even know the true definition of the ag.
Well,
But
you know, ag and markets law and all of this is complicated. And I know this because we've been trying to get a lot of information. One thing is very clear to me, and I spoke directly to Bob Somers in the Ag and Markets office to ask him, and the fact that it is an ag district does not exempt it from zoning law. It can result in an expedited review. The point of the Ag and Markets law is not to present an unreasonable burden that prevents farmers from doing what it is they want to do. It does not exempt an applicant from the zoning law. Now, I will grant you there are nuances and fine points, and we can go back and look at that. At this point, they're still before the Zoning Board of Appeals. We can't take an action. We can look into your questions and others that Richard's raised, and if there is an easier and simpler solution, then we all will attempt to find it. However, I want to be clear, people have this conception that if you're in an ag district, if you're certified ag, you get to do whatever you want. That's not the case. You can read very clearly in our zoning law, and I think it lays it out pretty clearly.
But there are exemptions, and the number of buildings are among.
There are exemptions, but they're not, it's not a blanket exemption.
I understand.
and we're not asking,
I know.
we're just trying to, but, and the only reason we're a little against the principal dwelling is, and this is what you told us, and of course I don't think it'll be true, but you said possibly we could build this and you could deny me or Renee to build a house because it's our primary, and that makes us a little nervous.
No,
That's
the possibly that I really referred to, John, is that the possibly is that that Renee will ultimately construct the house. He may never construct that house.
Right.
And if he doesn't construct the house, then this will stay the principal dwelling.
Okay.
I wasn't
misunderstood.
This unit meeting eligibility criteria for a caretaker's residence. I was simply saying there's no guarantee he's going to build a house. As I understand it, certainly it's his plan. There's no question about that. But it's my understanding that he's still toying around precisely with the location. There are no plans, engineering plans or architectural plans that have been submitted, completed and submitted to the building department, et cetera, for that house. The only other thing, I just want to comment on the ag law. To expand on what Melody said, what the ag law really establishes is a framework for saying to a municipality, you shall not unreasonably regulate agricultural and farm activities.
Right.
And if someone believes that you are, in fact, improperly regulating farm activity, there is a procedure in the Ag and Markets law that allows an individual or a municipality to submit the local legislation, copy the local legislation to the Commission of Agriculture, who then has the responsibility to make a determination as to whether or not the local regulation is reasonable. And most of the regulation, the interpretation as to whether something is reasonable, hinges on whether or not that legislation is in excess of what you're imposing on other uses. And sometimes that not only gets involved with structures, but location, manure piles, and things of that sort that really make it difficult for a farmer to operate. That's the situation. Beyond that, as you all know, the zoning law review task group has been working with the town board, and it looks like maybe next week the town board will wrap up its efforts on the modifications to the zoning law. In the last meeting of the task group, we've always identified 3 or 4 issues that need further examination. We added to that list one more: the interface between local regulation of agricultural and farm uses and the requirements of the Ag and Markets Law. And I think we all agreed in chatting with Elizabeth and Ed, and I think Joe was here that day too, that is a matter that needs to be given heightened priority once they get past this larger package.
May I just make one more comment?
Sure.
Having a farm that is operating with animals is a primary use. Why could you not have an accessory dwelling, accessory to the primary use of a farm?
I think it's a matter of zoning definition. I believe an accessory dwelling has to be subordinate to has to be supported to a principal dwelling on the same premises, occupied by the owner of the premises.
Well, that leads to my question, is every ag property subject to having a domicile on the property?
You know, I don't think we're going to answer all these questions tonight, and in the interest of, we're not going to be able to take action.
No, the answer is no, you can have a farm without a domicile, but you can't have a dwelling on a lot unless it's the principal dwelling on the lot.
Okay, so as soon as you make it a dwelling, it has to be the principal dwelling if it's the only dwelling.
Yeah.
I'm going to...
Let me just clarify this in my mind. The application in front of us is to take a building and make it the primary residence with whatever, a garage, in my words, underneath.
Right.
That's the only thing we should be discussing here tonight. The new building, at some point in time, when they're ready to put the house up, they'll probably, if the laws are the same as we think they are, they'll come back and ask for
it to become the
the new
principal
building.
dwelling.
So I don't think we should belabor the farm discussion any further.
I will, however, read...
I was under the impression we were also approving the outbuildings as well, so.
That is part of the application.
And that had to do with how many structures are allowable, and that's what it all led to.
That is what is before the ZBA, and it's there because of the interpretation by the CEO that the dwelling and those accessory structures were subject to site plan review.
All right, we have received one letter, which I will read into the record before I ask if there's any public comment. Dated June 12th from Charles Morgan, who lives at 155 Hilltop Road, Rhinebeck, to whom it may concern. In regards to Renee Schmidt's property at number 168 Hilltop Road, it has been brought to my attention that Mr. Schmidt's recently constructed barn is 86 feet from his westerly property line, which is my easterly property line. I understand the town of Rhinebeck zoning requires a 100-foot setback since this line is considered his front yard line. I have no objection to Mr. Schmidt's barn being where it is presently located. So that will be, it's read into the record.
And it's really a letter for the ZBA.
Right, well, he addressed it here,
What
so.
do you think about turning the air conditioning back on?
Well, I'm thinking if we can end this conversation, I would like a motion to continue this public hearing for 6:40. Oh, my goodness, if that could ever happen. 5-minute first public hearing. Yeah, I know, I'm delusional because of the heat. So I have a motion, I have a second, man. What's everybody's vote? Aye? Okay. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to invite the people remaining to move forward so we can turn the bloody fans back on and try and survive the evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
On that last matter, you could have considered a seeker determination this evening, but there's no advanced benefit in doing so. The ZBA is not waiting for the planning board to act or anything of that sort.
Somebody's here? These aren't?
No, the next item, and maybe, we were so busy this afternoon,
Actually, nothing goes up
as Melody and I had,
What's up?
couldn't find time to communicate, despite the fact that we were together for hours. Warren Temple Smith wrote to us earlier today and acknowledged that, Warren being project architect for Keith Arndt, acknowledged that the planning board can do nothing with respect to the Arndt proposal this evening in terms of decision because it's still pending before the ZBA. The planning board at the last meeting did take the seeker position, which allowed the ZBA to proceed. The ZBA has not wrapped up its work. Consequently, Warren asked if he needed to be here this evening, and I said, enjoy the evening doing something else. What you need to do is simply continue the public hearing to 6:45 on the 15th
I have
of
a
August.
motion to continue the public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded by Eric, seconded by Jesse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so that would be 6:45. That brings us to Mark Wasatski.
Right.
3 Mount Rutson Road, site plan approval. Conduct of a public hearing on an application for site plan approval in the matter of proposed modifications to an existing single-family dwelling located on tax map parcel listed and fronting on designated scenic roadways within the rural agricultural RA10 district and the town's LWRA, being the subject of area variances granted by the ZBA and classified as a type 2 action under seeker. Let's see.
Three-family dwelling.
Good evening.
Good evening. Three-family, not single-family.
Three-family.
3-family, I'm sorry. I read it as it was written, and that should be corrected. You are correct.
Okay, I changed it in one place, but not on the other. It's appropriate, it's correct in the resolution, it's just not correct on that.
I believe we have received the ZBA's decision. Is that correct?
Yes, you have. ZBA acted on this a long time ago, 20th of April.
Okay. Would you like to make a presentation?
What we're proposing is we had to remove a two-story side porch on the property, and we're redistributing the square footage to make a single story on the left hand, a single story on the right hand, and adding a small extension to the rear, which is a mudroom. We're also adding a small front entry portico entry, which replaces a large portico which was removed.
I believe Woody and Eric made a field visit.
Ask Woody, I blew it.
Woody made, yeah.
Woody made a site visit.
Well, I went to the site with the CAB, and I'll tell you, Mr. Wasatski has got a challenge. He's trying to restore and change an old building to make it better. I wish him luck. I think the word was used, I used it as a money pit, okay?
Yep. In every sense of the term.
You've got one heck of a challenge there, but I wish you the best. I think it's a great idea. It's a great site. I liked it. I see no problems with it at all.
Brian? Oh, Bob?
Good evening, Bob Donaldson, CAB. Last Friday, Ryan and I joined Woody on a site visit on the property, and we joined Woody in saying that we find that any of the proposed alterations, modifications, additions to all sides of the house will have no negative impact on the physical structure of the house or the landscape of the property or the view from the road. And I'm sure Ryan joins me when I join you, Woody, and we compliment you on your work and wish you much luck on it.
Wow, it's a love fest here.
I can continue it. Oh, look at that thunder.
Oh, good. I'm noticing that this was, as far as the referral to Dutchess County, again, one of these new applications that was declared exempt from needing county review.
Which is incorrect, but that's okay.
Well, that's what they said.
Their mistake, though.
Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to comment on this application? Are there any other comments or questions from any other members of the planning board?
Well, I'll continue the love fest then. My summary for the board was, I've identified no planning, zoning, or environmental issues associated with this project, and am of the opinion this project is an important first step in the overall intended improvement in the appearance of this property by its new owners.
Well said.
Well said.
Consequently, I recommend the draft approval resolution that follows. And there's no seeker resolution in advance of this because this is a type 2 action under seeker. So you can,
Okay, it looks pretty short. But I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Woody, seconded by Eric. Town of Rhinebeck Planning, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. The Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board, upon review and determination by the CEO, hereby acts as follows on the application by Mark Wisotsky. In the introduction, I'm just going to go on to the numbered sections. 1, reaffirms the planning board's prior classification pursuant to 6 MYCRR Part 617.5.C9 of the proposed action as a Type 2 action for which further environmental quality review is precluded. 2, considers the proposed modifications to the existing dwelling to be visually beneficial to the adjacent designated scenic roadways, and as such determines no adverse impact on the scenic quality of the public roadways will occur. 3, in consideration of the limited extent of site work intended, waives requirement for submission through plan or report of any information set forth within the site plan checklist at Town Code Chapter 125, zoning section 125-75, subsection C, not presently depicted and/or described by the aforementioned documents. 4, approves the application for site plan approval and authorizes the chair to stamp and sign both the boundary survey map prepared by Morris Associates and dated June 15, 2016, and the elevations by GP Incorporated Design Consulting upon the applicant's satisfaction of each of the following conditions and/or requirements within 6 calendar months of the adoption of this resolution. A, submission of the aforementioned drawings for stamping and signature in the form and number specified under Town Code Chapter 125, Section 125-78, subsection B, or as may be modified by the chair. B, payment of any outstanding fees or reimbursable amounts due the town related to the review and processing of this application. In taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the building inspector to issue a building permit for the proposed work upon receipt of a copy of the site plan stamped and signed by the chair and the town zoning enforcement officer and/or building inspector as pertinent to subsequently issue a certificate of occupancy for the applicant's proposed reconfigured 3-family dwelling and related site improvements upon determination in each event that both the terms of this resolution and all other codes, laws, rules, or regulations within the purview of the ZEO and/or building inspector, including but not limited to the requirements of the New York State Uniform Building Construction and Fire Prevention Code, have been satisfied. May I have a motion?
I move to accept.
Edna moves to accept. A second, please.
Second.
Jesse, seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you.
Good luck.
You gotta stop saying that.
Have a nice
Yeah, it's very
three-family house.
discouraging.
Anytime you want to come over and swing a hammer.
Is that in the demolition phase or the construction phase?
same.
All right, that concludes, thankfully, the public hearing portion of this meeting. So let us move now into regular session old business. Andrew Solomon, 2009 Trust, 367 River Road, special use permits and site approval. This is the continuing review and processing, as may be timely, of applications to the planning board for special use permits, site plan review and approval, including opportunity for presentation by applicant representative of additional information concerning proposed work on tax map parcel listed at 105-acre estate property known as Marion Rue and consisting of a 17,000 square foot residence and appurtenances fronting on a scenic road and being within the historic preservation and land conservation stream corridor overlay districts, the Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District, and the town's LWRA, and further the subject of a pending application for area variances first submitted to the ZBA on November 6, 2015, and since twice updated to first reflect modifications, that being downscaling in the overall project, and then additional requested relief in the matter of fencing height with the requested planning board approvals and other permits, approvals, and compliance determinations as may be required from other involved agencies, being the subject of a negative declaration under seeker issued by the planning board as lead agency. We believe, let's see,
The applicant
the
has,
ZBA dealt with this project
it's pending.
on July 6th in the conduct of a public hearing, but it's still pending. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, so
It's actually, the ZBA dealt with it and expanded the variance request right to include the deer fencing.
Yes, we included the deer fencing, but they are keeping it as a separate application because they couldn't combine it.
And they calendared that for July 20th for Wednesday night.
Right, because you would have had to have noticed separately anyway, right?
Right, so we kept it that way.
Okay, so that's been accepted.
I guess the other thing that, informationally for the board, is that the technical meeting that we discussed at the last meeting occurred this afternoon. The applicant's engineers submitted a detailed response letter to the board, and what was it, Melody, Sharon, Ron, Ray, and I met with these folks this afternoon, and they'll be coming back after doing some more homework.
We are expecting a letter from our planning board engineer, Ray Jakowski, outlining all of the questions he raised with you today.
Correct.
Additional follow-up on. Obviously, just meeting this afternoon, we don't yet have Ray's detailed letter, but that should be forthcoming. And we've had a
Correct.
good opportunity, I think, to get through a number of the technical issues. So,
Right. So tonight, we'd like the opportunity also to have the owners of the property come up and speak a little bit about, give you a better idea of what they're planning on doing. Because I know some of the questions that have been raised in the past in terms of landscaping and the lighting plan for the property. And, what their vision is there, to give you a little better idea, an understanding of what they want to do. And so, John, and
Well, first of all, just to say hello, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Andrew Solomon. We have had this property, as you know, for some time. It took us quite a while to figure out what we were doing with it. The reason that we came to Rhinebeck in the first place and that we bought this property is because we very much like the pace of life here, the beauty of these surroundings, and had a strong sense, I think, of mission and connectedness to a property which had been in some ways neglected over a very long period of time. Our hope and wish in all of this, and I just thought I would clarify it because in looking at some of the notes that have come through, it wasn't always entirely clear. Our hope and wish is to restore, really. We wish to add some new buildings. You've all seen plans of them. There are some things that are being added. But our overall wish for the property as a whole is to attempt to make sure that the trees that are growing there are well tended, to make sure that they're native trees that aren't being choked out by invasive species, to keep up the kinds of plantings that are conducive to migratory bird patterns and that are helpful to those birds, and altogether to make it a place of dignity for wild creatures who come through, for ourselves, and for the town of Rhinebeck. So I really just wanted to say, I can respond to particular questions if anyone has particular questions that you want to ask, but I wanted to say this house has been a great passion for us. It's been a gradual one for a variety of reasons to get it to the point that it's at now, but it's a great passion, and it really has been driven by a great sense of beauty and a great sense of how a well-managed property of this kind can be a blessing not only for its occupants, but also, I hope, for other people around it. I'll let John talk a little bit more because he does more of the specific work on individual trees and so on. But I wanted to communicate that, and I'm very happy if any of you have any questions or if you want to ask me anything.
okay. Let's hear your
I'm here.
complete
Okay.
presentation, and then we'll see if there are questions.
Hi, John Havick. I'm not sure exactly what kind of a review you're doing of the zoning next week, but one issue that I would encourage you to address is that of invasive species, because you've got a plan right now that talks about the beauty of existing trees, but especially, this is going to become even more and more of an issue than it is now. Existing trees are sometimes invasive and sometimes have terrible long-term consequences. When we bought the place, I consulted with a number of people, including Chris Raddick, who's the head arborist at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, Jessica Train, who manages the 50-acre tract of primeval forest in the New York Botanical Garden. And Mike Callan from the Department of Environmental Conservation. And Mike Callan and his guys came out and actually marked for us Norway maples. Now, you will see along public roads in Rhinebeck, Norway maples all over the place. They were planted as a street tree all across America from the 1920s until the 1970s, when their invasive potential became well known. The problem with Norway maples in a property such as ours is that they cast such dense shade that no understory grows beneath them, except other Norway maples. So gradually, if you don't cull Norway maples, even beautiful Norway maples, you're going to end up over a 50-year time span with a woodland that is basically a monoculture of an invasive species that doesn't support native birds, native insects, and so on. Anyway, so in terms of what we've been doing, I've been clearing, by clearing I mean multiflora rose, Phragmites australis, which is that giant, beautiful but rampant weed that grows in marshes. There are some, interestingly, they call native invasive species opportunistic, because it's a nicer term than invasive. So we've been clearing those kinds of trees and planting. I've got a nursery on the property where I'm growing mainly native species. The difficulty with providing a landscape plan on a 105-acre property is that the landscape on a property that big is a living thing. It's a constantly evolving thing. Now, in any given year, we have on our property about, I would say, probably 45 acres of woodland. In any given year, we have 20, 30 trees blow over in storms. And so you don't know where is your opportunity going to be. I mean, you have to be able to respond to what happens in nature, basically. So you have suddenly a hole in the forest, you want to plant something there that will be good there in the long run. I've had some questions from the town zoning officer about cutting trees, because last fall I was clear cutting a small area of mostly under 6-inch DBH white ash, because they were all inflicted with emerald ash borer. Again, I worked with the Department of Environmental Conservation on a monitoring program for several years in order to figure out when, if, where emerald ash borer was going to come to this side of the river. And the first place it was noticed was at Ileana's place immediately to the north of us. All of our ash trees are infected with EAB. Now, again, the problem there from an administrative point of view is that if you're going to be a good steward of the land, you have to respond quickly to those things because they spread really fast. This last week, for example, I had 5 elm trees that suddenly got afflicted with elm borer, and I had to have them treated right away. A couple of them might not make it. If they don't make it, I've got to cut them down right away, or else they're going to reinfect the other trees that are along the driveway. So I'm willing to do, we're willing to do what we need to do to make people sure that we're going to do a good job by the property, but to do a landscape plan, I have to say that somebody earlier said that this was the Hamptons of the Hudson, and I hope not, because we don't want the Hamptons, which is why we're here, and we don't want a landscape plan like they have in the Hudsons, where some designer comes in and marks out little plots of where everything is going to be. We're trying to create a natural native landscape over time.
I hope you had a chance to, we did speak at some length this afternoon with your representatives about, and I trust that they've conveyed that conversation to you, and for purposes of the other members of the board. This came up last month, and we did have a little spirited discussion about, to what extent a landscape plan is required under normal circumstances. But we're looking at that and thinking about it, and we agree that we're not in the business of deciding who puts dahlias in what bed and who puts peonies somewhere else. That would be unnecessarily and overly restricted. What we did say is that this was the opinion of the people at the meeting, so I'm
Right.
not saying
Mhm.
that this is an expression of the planning board itself. But we did say that we felt that we wanted to know what activities you might be planning along River Road that would be the view shed from River Road, what, if any, activities you might be doing that would be in the view shed from the river or across the river. And we also talked about the fact that, taking down trees requires people coming back before the zoning and planning board. You can't just start taking down trees. Now, I'm not talking about dead trees, but I'm talking about other trees.
Yeah.
And we talked about an arborist, if you talking and helping you with something. So
No, I've got arborists helping me with everything, but again,
it's not part of something that's been submitted to us, is it?
No, I just got his report today
Maybe-
but anyway, I would also just ask you to consider the fact that on a property that big, if you're coming to ask for every tree that comes down that, is a dead tree, or like, for example, I've got a huge, beautiful elm near the northern lot line right now. It's probably about, I'd say, 30 inches DBH, and it's 3/4 dead. It's succumbing to Dutch elm. And if I wait until it's dead to take it down, I can't use the wood. If I can take it down before it's completely dead, I can mill it.
Well, I was just conferring with Art because, I don't want people to think that for him to proceed to take down trees in these conditions, he's having to come back before the planning board. This is something that he can go to the zoning enforcement officer and provide whatever documentation. I don't see it as an onerous problem, to be honest, but there is a process for dealing with it.
Right.
And it's not something that you have to be submitting a plan to
Now,
us.
the zoning enforcement officer is,
Ron Evangelista.
well, when our architect here talked to Ron Evangelista said that he told Michael Sloan that even dead trees required an arborist report and a visit from the Conservation Advisory Board. I know people on the Conservation Advisory Board who said that in the last 5 years, they've never done that. And
We can clarify that.
And we got a very favorable report from the Conservation Advisory Board when they came through and looked at what we were doing on the property.
Well, I think we hear your points, or I think we're sympathetic to your points, and Eric?
Are we asking them to catalog every tree on a 100-acre property?
No, I think the afternoon discussion, maybe put it in different words, really was a recognition that on a property of this size, and I say it as an owner of a property that's even substantially larger than this, I would never be expected to catalog every tree.
Right.
But that as a substitute for a detailed landscaping plan of the type that you just referred to that would exist in the Hamptons, that there be basically a protocol statement on behalf of the owner or by the owner,
Right.
how he intends to manage the landscape
Right.
over the years as his desires and nature, as his desires want and nature requires.
Right.
And a general statement, indicating that you do, these are my words, that
Okay.
you do not intend to develop a manicured landscape along River Road, or you do, or, so give
Right.
us the context
Oh, great.
for the
That's
larger context
easy.
for
Yeah.
what your intention is on the property, because we do have to be concerned about the view sheds into your property from adjacent property.
Right.
Be a written document that we would then submit back to the board.
Well, we're going to be back and forth with developing other aspects of this application, so we can be talking about exactly what form we want to see that in. But while you have the floor, because the other topic that I know was of interest last month was the lack of a lighting plan, which is also another key aspect of our application process.
Right. Well, we have a lighting plan sort of thematically. We don't have it exactly because he does it in the field. You know what I mean? He does it, sees what it looks like, it doesn't look right, moves it, you know what I mean, it can't be done exactly beforehand. The guy who's doing it, Greg Yale from Yale Moyer Lighting Design, is, as I think Michael told you, a board member of the International Dark Sky Association. I am a star watcher myself and hate big light. What he generally does is uplighting, but it's uplighting basically in trees, for example, that highlights the underside of the branches, and it's so low. I think that he uses 8-watt fixtures. So that and he's one of the things he says is, I don't do runway lights. For along a driveway, there won't be even any low lights along. What he has is these very dim lights that are visible from, I'd say, probably 30 feet away or so. They allow you to get your bearings in the landscape, but they're completely non-polluting. You get much more light pollution, frankly, from a downward standard fixture in a parking lot because of reflection than you do in these very small fixtures. And I certainly could provide.
So we're working toward.
Yeah, and we could do a portfolio. We could have anybody out for, to see what it looks like, to see what the sample of.
I think we need some more information, and I think we moved this forward quite a bit in the discussion this afternoon, and we've got some options to look at. But, can't just have it just happening in the field. A little more specifics.
As in the landscape plan with the lighting plan, just, when I'm placing a tree on a plan, it doesn't only depend on where the tree is, it depends on where the branches of existing trees that are between here and there are.
I think a best guess would probably work. Like,
Hmm?
if he has, say, 25 trees that he'd like to uplay, say.
Oh, no, not nearly that many. He's,
Well, see, there's a good example of how we just need
Right,
to
okay.
get down to being a little more
See like
specific.
a picture of it in action, like how it looks. I don't know if that would transfer to film.
Actually, Jesse, what we talked about this afternoon was not only, they're providing specification of the type of fixture and things they're going to use. And then probably the most effective thing would be essentially a nighttime field visit, a demonstration of how the uplighting would occur on 2 or 3 illustrative trees, and maybe how the side driveway, lighting along the driveway might look. The only additional point that I raised in that discussion was whether there would be a substantially different appearance in a leaf versus a non-leaf condition, or in fact, were you only going to use that lighting perhaps during the summer?
no, it would be used during the winter too, but again, because it disperses light over such a small area, it would look as different as a tree looks in summer and winter, but.
The issue for the planning board, just to explain for the planning board, is that there is a prohibition, an absolute prohibition in the zoning law against uplighting unless it qualifies for a certain exemption. And the exemptions really relate to some very, very temporary sorts of lighting, plus one further item. And that further item is lighting that would be interpreted to be, interpreted by the planning board to be part of an overall landscape design scheme.
And something that says, I think also artistic character or something.
By the board
Right.
to authorize that.
Which is also why I'm looking to get a better sense of this overall aesthetic.
Right.
Because if I'm going to be persuaded that this fits in, then I need a better understanding of what that aesthetic is. So the more you can give us without getting too fine a point on it about your vision, the easier it's going to be to look at the lighting as part
Right.
of that larger picture.
Okay. Just in terms of credibility, if it offers any, I'm a former board member of Scenic Hudson, and Andrew was for 20 years a board member of the World Monuments Organization, the World Monuments Fund, which,
I know you're sensitive to these things.
so we are.
And
Thank
I'd
you.
like to add one more thing about the lighting is, like I mentioned before in our meeting, was when you talk about 8 watts, it's, when you talk about foot candles, I'm normally doing foot candles based on, 250 watt, parking lights. And even then, I'm down to 0.2 when I'm only 30 feet from the light fixture. So you're talking 8 watts.
Well, some of us can't visualize that, so I think the field
Well,
visit is.
that's exactly where I was going with this. I mean, it's not going to translate on paper 8
Right,
watts.
so
It's
we'll-
just physically
No,
impossible.
but we'll get.
But, so that's lumens is the foot candles, I mean, it's the way
I know,
you.
but watts is not, watt is not a light output, it's just, I mean, that's just,
All right, we don't need to be
But-
so technical here.
But what my point is, a site visit and even a demonstration, or even going out there with a light meter to show that, and also being able to see it in the evening is, very beneficial.
We like field visits, so we'll.
I would like to comment on both of your presentations. I think if I were the receiver of your quote lighting plan and landscaping plan, the presentation that you just made verbally, if you could put that on hard copy, in my opinion, that would suffice to satisfy the whole package that we're talking about.
That's just protocol.
I took notes. I'll put it on the site plan.
you can get the recording.
Good.
It was very positive that both of you gentlemen were able to present your thoughts and your feelings. It was very positive. Thank you.
I think it's fair to say that everything else that this, or almost everything, if not everything else discussed this afternoon falls into the category of technical engineering.
Yeah.
Whether it was local approvals, external agency approvals, stormwater management concerns, whatever. It's all technical engineering. Right?
I would just add, if it's of any use, that we don't always know. I mean, when this whole process began, we sort of thought, should we come here? And people said, no, usually you have the architect go there, and we didn't really know quite how it would work. We're up here, we're very accessible. If anything comes up and it's useful to any of you to interact with us directly, we're very happy. We're happy to come back to the meetings, or to the meetings we do on site, which is what I spent.
All right.
Well, your technical staff has been good. I was one of the people that did
Yep.
the site review, and they've been excellent explaining
I agree.
all the stuff that you guys have in process, especially, you've got some monumental project down there. Again,
Makes Mr. Wasatski's look easy,
yeah,
huh?
it makes it look okay.
All right, are there any other questions or comments from other members of the board? Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome.
We'll get these technical questions answered and hopefully move along.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Mr. Chapman. Wait, let me introduce you. I think we're up to you. Next up, David Chapman, 16 and 30 Valley Way Road, a subdivision plat, sketch plan conference, and if timely, initial presentation of application for subdivision plat approval under Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land in the matter of a proposed lot line alteration between tax map parcels listed within the residential low-density and Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District and the town's LWRA as subject of an application for area variances pending before the ZBA Planning Board review of application and processing as may be timely under Town Code Chapter 101 subdivision of land and seeker. Was that last one wasn't a public? No, never mind. Okay.
Hi there, I'm David Chapman. I live in Rhinecliff. I've been there 20 years. 16 Valley Way is my primary residence on the right of the board here. I also own the property next door, which I've had for about 10 years, and I'm proposing to move the lot line about 60 feet towards the property next door to me. Currently, this is 1.9 acres, and this is 2.9 acres, so I want to make them the same size. There is a driveway that goes across the one of the lots on the left, And when you look at the land, the characteristics suggest that the line is already, or the land that I want to move is already part of my property, when indeed it's not. So I just want to push the line over towards the driveway that goes through the lot on the left. There's no other changes. That's the only thing that I want to do, just push the line over to be alongside the driveway. I've been through the zoning board 2 or 3 times to check on the position of the driveway. I've pulled all the old deeds for the driveway. There's no easements or anything for the actual driveway, and it's actually referred to in the deeds and in my title to the surveys I've had drawn over the years. So it's not a town road, and that's the suggestion, or what I'm asking for is just to move the line over to alongside the gravel driveway that crosses the land next door.
Questions?
These are both these lots are occupied at the time?
Yeah, one's my primary residence, the one next door is a rental property of mine.
Okay.
I rent it out, yeah.
And there are some variances, there's an application for variances pending before the ZBA.
And what are those variances for?
Among others, they deal with the fact that these are, the 2 lots are being combined are existing, or modified or existing non-conforming lots in terms of area.
Non-conforming due to?
Area.
Size area, non-compliance. Okay.
That's a detail. The ZBA is recommending that, I believe it'll be in their final decision, right, that there's a small sliver of land that the ZBA will indicate should be dedicated to the municipality upon the subdivision proceeding by the.
That's what Ron suggested.
Right.
There's a little bit of land here
Right.
that goes across the town, and I have no problems with that.
Yeah, but that's apparently going to be a condition in the ZBA's approval resolution, which will have to the planning board will have to follow through on.
So assuming all that zoning is okay, we're just looking at this as a straightforward moving of a lot line.
Modification of a lot line, alteration, or whatever you want to call it.
And there's no change in the ownership or the occupancy or anything else, and
No,
so I don't see any problems with it.
So you've got a straight procedural resolution beginning on page 14.
Bottom of 14.
And the hour of that public hearing, because of some other things we did this evening, changes from 7 o'clock to 6:50 in the resolution.
All right, skipping the first paragraph, accepts the application and supporting documents as adequate for initiating review by the planning board, its advisors, and the public upon the applicant's acknowledgement that the planning board may not approve the application unless the ZBA first grants heretofore requested area variances to address those matters of zoning noncompliance cited by the ZEO. Classifies the proposed action as an unlisted action under seeker, for which the option of coordinated environmental quality review will not be applied. Classifies the proposed subdivision as a minor subdivision lot line alteration under Town Code Chapter 101 subdivision of land. Schedules a public hearing for Monday, August 15th, 2016 at 6:50
6:50.
p.m. and directs the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause the noticing and posting thereof in accordance with the requirements set forth within Town Code Chapter 101 subdivision of land, Section 101-4.4D. Delegates planning board members, Edna and
I'll go.
Jesse, to conduct a field visit to the subdivision site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 9, Conservation Advisory Board refers the application to the Town Conservation Advisory Board for review and written comments concerning environmental factors within the 30-day time period provided within Chapter 9, with early response by August 15, 2016 encouraged. 7, in accordance with Town Code Chapter 118, Waterfront Consistency Review refers the application to the Town Waterfront Advisory Committee for review and comment concerning consistency with pertinent coastal policies set forth within the town's LWRP within the 30-day time period provided within Chapter 118, with early response by August 15, 2016 encouraged. 8, authorizes the town planning consultant without prejudice to any information or comment that may be presented at the public hearing or may arise on the basis of either the above cited referrals and/or field visit to prepare the working draft of an EAF Part 2, a related seeker resolution, and approval resolution incorporating any recommended conditions for the planning board's consideration on August 15, 2016, or as may be later timely. May I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Sharon, seconded by Eric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? You
Okay.
will coordinate with Edna or Jesse. I believe we probably have your email to coordinate the site visit.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah, it's all staked, so it's very clear with the map. If I'm not there, it's right there. You'll see it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
We're not doing Vanakiotis, are we?
Hmm?
We're not doing Vanakiotis, are we?
Yes, you are.
We are.
Subdivision.
Oh.
That's only the subdivision.
Okay, next up, Vanakiotis, Sarukas, and Sarukas Partners, LLP, 6595 New York State Route 9 North, subdivision plat.
number, email?
The initial presentation of application for subdivision plat
that's right.
under Town Code Chapter 101 subdivision of land in the matter of the proposed consolidation of tax map parcels listed within the general business district, this matter previously being the subject of a conditional plat approval resolution adopted by the planning board on November 16, 2015, pursuant to which stated conditions and/or requirements were not satisfied within the maximum authorized time period, and for which a timely request for extension was not submitted. Planning board review of application and processing as may be timely under Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land in seeker. Good evening.
Good evening, Mark Day, Day Engineering, representing the applicant. This has been in front of the board prior. This was actually given final approval. We have a resolution, and what happened was there was a lapse in time to have these lots consolidated. We've since reached out to Mr. Delbo, and there was some confusion between the owner and Mr. Delbo, which we think we got resolved. So basically, one of the items in the resolution was to combine the lots in the town. There's 3 lots. This is actually deeded as 2, because I think if you read the deed, they call it out as parcel 1, 2. In actuality, it's 1 lot. But there's these 3 lots that would be combined in the town, which Mr. Dalbo is going to file for consolidation with the county. Other than that, all the other items of the resolution were resolved.
That's correct.
All right.
You've got a simple procedural resolution. Going through the steps again, public hearing on August 15th at 6:55.
And we don't have to do a field visit or anything?
No,
It's
you've already done it.
Okay.
Actually, there's an acknowledgement here that you've already had the field visit.
Any questions from members of the planning board?
I'm just wondering when the reconstruction might start.
We're actually, the architects are designing. We currently have gone through reevaluation of the existing septic systems. There's 2. Right now, they're currently drilling a new well and having it tested. This was never a public water supply, so now, in order to approve the 2 septic systems, we need approval for the water supply as well. So we're in the middle of it.
So what, a few months, do you think? Or-
Well, you're dealing with the Board of Health, so
I understand that the health department has not received anything on the,
we don't want to piecemeal it, so what we're waiting for is the well to be drilled and tested, meaning quality and quantity. Then we will submit both an engineering report for both the septic and the water supply, and they approve both as a package.
Edna, the further response to the question is that the planning board continued the public hearing on the site plan to an indefinite date to be set once there's understanding that the health department is satisfied.
Correct.
Right, I just-
So that could, as Mark understands, who knows? That could be 2 months from now, it could be 6 months from now, or whenever.
One of the problems is that the health department is running very slow recently. So their holdup is going to be from the health department.
We've met them. We've been at the site with them. The issue with the well, I convinced the owners, we can't use what was there. It's, first of all, a shallow well. There's new standards. They were never a public water supply. So really, this is all new. It's all, it's completely, the system is going to be totally different, so.
The septic is being treated by the health department. This is all being treated by the health department as new construction,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Correct.
And are you continuing to try and reach out to the Stop and Shop?
We did talk to them, or we finally got a hold of them, and
Soon to be Tops?
yeah, soon to be Tops, but I don't believe there's any interest. They're not, let's say, cooperative.
Well, I think,
What is that issue, Melanie?
well, there's a force main, right, that comes down Route 9. And one of the options that we had encouraged the applicant to look at was tying into that as opposed to septic systems that are continuously failing. And I think, I don't know this to be true, but I think the fact that Stop and Shop and all of these sales and purchases and the mergers and everything certainly wasn't putting Stop and Shop themselves in a position to want to be negotiating
Correct.
with you, because they knew long before we knew that all of these mergers and things were taking place. So I don't know whether, as a new owner of that property comes in, there might be an interest on their part.
We did notify the person, the name that we had got. We were at the meeting here a few months back. The name of the person we found after calling and emailing was not there.
Yeah.
Another person was there, didn't know what we were talking about, was totally unaware of the fact that there was a force main, kept telling us it was a proposal, and that,
Well, the proposal is to enlarge it. and That
Right.
was why we were interested in sending you in that direction.
well, they weren't interested in talking to us, so.
Yeah, because there's got to be a capacity problem with that line as it is today, and with you guys.
Well, that's why
adding
they're
on to
enlarging it, Woody.
It's got to be.
I would tend to agree.
At this point, it appears that the new owner, Tops, is probably 6 months or more away from actual control of the property because they have to have
Right.
Trade Commission
All right, well, we'll
approval.
wait to hear from you.
Okay.
All right, I can,
You had mentioned septic systems that continually to fail. Is there a problem with the area about that, or is that just a
You know-
bad engineering and there several times in the past, or what's
Well,
going on?
I can say multiple times. We did FOIL, and we had a record of the number of complaints that were lodged. And it is a complaint that we hear from neighbors and property owners that you
Right.
know. I
I've
mean, there are a
heard
lot
of the
of people.
complaints, but is that ongoing? Has it been then attempted to be
Well, it
fixed?
hasn't been in operation for.
No. I mean, when the complaints were going on, was it then fixed and still didn't work, or?
It was fixed, and then it would fail again, and it would be fixed, and then it would fail again. So our concern all along has been that we were never getting to the very bottom of what the problem was.
I think I've done enough with this, dug around this. The contractor, we actually excavated around this. In my opinion, the grease traps were never pumped properly. This stone that was around, there's a series of dry wells out here. They were completely clogged with grease. And I had asked Mr. LeGrand to remove that material because it was never going to accept septic again. So what we did was we went through that entire system, basically took the stone out and changed it with stone that was clean. We pumped out, there's actually two pump chambers here, completely cleaned them out. And let me tell you, that was a rodeo because they hadn't been touched in so long that it took quite a bit to get those down. The pumps were all done, they were tested. So as we explained to the owner, you gotta pump these, otherwise you're just sending grease right down the line and it will not operate. And it didn't. So anything anybody was ever gonna do to this thing, it was gonna come back. So
And continuous, and when you look at the record of complaints,
what
it
happened.
kept coming back and coming back and coming back.
But over this late last month, we went and looked at this. All these tanks, at the time my first visit there, they were full of groundwater. Now they're not. They're completely dry. So, it's because we've changed the soil and changed the stone around them. So we think we got to the bottom of the problem. And the problem is you got to maintain your grease trap. So,
Well, but this, again, is being treated by the health department as new construction. We will wait for their approvals. But I think tonight we can go ahead with this draft procedural resolution.
Right, just change the time of the public hearing to 6:55.
I don't even see where it is.
Oh, it's item 5 down here on,
Oh, I see. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't even think you need to read the full resolution, do you?
No, I think I can jump ahead to the
Schedule for
schedules of
public-
public hearing on the application for Monday, August 15th, 2016 at 6:55 PM. Directs the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause the noticing and posting thereof in accordance with the requirements set forth within Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land. In accordance, so we're referring it back to the Conservation Advisory Board,
Have to
however,
because it's a new application.
because it's a new application.
And you're authorizing me to prepare an appropriate resolution for your consideration. then.
May I have a motion? So moved. Moved by Eric, seconded by Sharon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry it's such a long meeting.
Stay cool.
Oh, yeah.
No, get cool.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Susan Koff, River and Ryan Road subdivision plat, sketch plan conference, and if timely, initial presentation of application for subdivision plat approval under Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land, in the matter of proposed consolidation of lots, I don't have the numbers, but
3A and 4.
3A and 4, is that right, Susan?
3A and 4, yes.
Okay, as depicted on a subdivision plat entitled Re-subdivision of Filed Map 587-3A, as approved by resolution of the Planning Board on February 3rd, 2009, and located within the Hudson Historic Preservation and Hudson River Landmark Historic Districts, and the town's LWRA Planning Board review of application and processing as may be timely under Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land in seeker.
Susan Koff. I live at 167 River Road in Rhinebeck. And what I'm proposing is a merger of two lots, as you said, Lot 3A and Lot 4. So here is Lot 4. Here is the lot line that's going to be removed. This is 6.55 acres.
Submitted today, I don't have it.
This lot over here is currently 14.959 acres. When they are combined, when this lot line is removed, they will now be conforming to the current zoning, and it will be 21.154 acres. I'm not proposing to do anything else other than remove this line and create one lot. That's it.
Yeah, I guess I should say for the record that earlier, let's see, today is the 18th. So earlier today, Ron sent out a memo, and on this particular project, he noted, I had written to Susan Kay over a week ago requesting additional info on the drawings, some other info. She acknowledged receipt and said she wasn't sure when she could resubmit. As of Thursday, we had received nothing further. I'm going to say that in conversation with Ron, or not in conversation, I guess Ron submitted an email later in the day which said a submission did come in today. And in conversation with Susan, Susan simply misunderstood Ron's communication and thought it was appropriate to, in that the application had already been filed, and Ron was simply looking for a few modifications in the drawing, that it was appropriate to simply make sure that the drawing was here by tonight's meeting. So that's what we're dealing with here.
Do you want to know what he requested, or that doesn't matter? This is what he requested.
Right. And on that basis, I would recommend the board proceed, with the procedural resolution, the scheduling of the hearing. Because of papers passing back and forth today, I need to just simply check the date on this, the drawing to insert in the resolution.
I never got any material out of this in my...
No.
He signed this today.
It's not in there.
Dated. The 8th.
No, it's got the revision date on it. Okay, it's revised 7/18.
Oh, okay. Oh, on the bottom there, okay.
Okay.
Questions from the planning board?
So everything's in compliance in terms of the materials required and all that stuff?
Yes, all other materials, it was simply couple of little modifications on the map. For the entitled, how it's entitled, simply call it consolidation of lots 3A and 4, filed map 5873A, dated June 28th, 2016, and revised to July 18th, 2016.
Well, why don't I let you read number 1?
Okay.
Unless there are other questions.
And there's one further item. Ron did point out in his later memo that he had not reviewed the revised map. So therefore, I'm recommending that while the board schedules the public hearing, it do so conditionally upon determination by Ron prior to next Wednesday or next Thursday that it is adequate. Otherwise, the public notice does not go out. Okay? So I will read 1 and 4 then.
Okay, go ahead.
Which I guess are the only two. One is accepts the application and supporting documents, including EAF Part 1, Coastal Assessment Form, and survey map entitled Consolidation of Lot 3A and 4, filed map 5873A, prepared by Charles Boulikas, dated June 28, 2006, and revised to July 18, 2016, as adequate for initiating review by the planning board, its advisors, and the public. Second paragraph is classification as an unlisted. Classification as a minor subdivision lot, or lot consolidation. And then 4, conditional upon determination by the ZEO not later than July 28, 2016, of the adequacy of the application, comma. Schedules a public hearing on the application for Monday, August 15, 2016 at 7 p.m. and directs the clerk to undertake or cause noticing, etc.
Delegates planning board members? Delegates planning board members? Edna? And
I'll go again.
Jesse? To conduct a field visit to the subdivision site and report their observations at the time of public hearing. And the rest is the standard remainder.
Referral to the CAB, referral to the waterfront committee, etc.
May I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second. By Woody, seconded by Sharon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you, Susan.
Thank you very much.
KPH2 Management LLC, Astor Courts, 189 River Road, special use permit. This is the initial presentation of an application for special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning, Sections 125-40 and 125-54, in the matter of the removal of debris and the repair and/or replacement of stream culverts within tax map parcel listed within the Historic Preservation and Hudson River National Historic Landmarks District, the Estates District, scenic area of statewide significance in the town's LWRA. Planning Board review of application and processing as may be timely under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning and seeker. Art, do you have anything to say, or you want to wait until after Mark?
Mark can present. Ron did have some comment concerning this application, and I understand that his comment about copies and fees have been satisfied.
Yes, they have.
And again, Ron also pointed out, again, because of schedules and everything else that's been going on, that he had not yet had an opportunity to review this particular matter, although he was part of the field visit. Consequently, if the board moves forward, I'd recommend that same conditional language be included.
Good. Ready?
Ready.
Good evening, Mark Ruminski representing KPH2 Management LLC. It's also, the board may be familiar with it, it's the Astor Courts property on River Road. And this application, as mentioned in the notice, is for site plan special permit, and it's for replacement of existing drainage structures located on the property. Those specific drainage structures, here's an overall site plan. River Road is located on the east side. You travel in along the existing driveway heading to the west towards the river, and
And as you enter the property, there's, for those familiar with it, there's, a portion of the old railroad bed that goes through this particular piece of property. And so this specific application, there's right where this driveway that enters in, and those also familiar with the Duffy property is located to the north here. It's right where, it's just a little bit before the driveway on this is Common Drive, splits off and goes to the Duffy property. There are two existing box culverts. They're old stone box culverts that were installed as part of the drainage improvements with the railroad. And so those stone culverts they're 3 feet by 4 feet, and they're side by side. And over the years, there's been some deterioration of that, or damage to those culverts. Not only, some are visible, clearly visible on the, and water flow is from the south to the north through there. It's just a drainage area from the Cough property and also from Creed Ankeny that enters into there, and there's a wetland associated with it, and water flow goes through there, enters into a stream that is actually traverses through this particular property, and also picks up runoff from a property to the north and actually Ferncliff Nursing Home. But this is the area of the existing box culverts, and there's some debris and trees and siltation that is located on the south end of those culverts. And then also, when you're along the railroad bed, so you can see here's the railroad bed here, it's actually caved in a portion of the railroad bed. So there's and it's caved in on the culverts, and that was actually an issue with I actually saw some videos from the previous owners of the property during Irene. This entire area filled up, backed up with stormwater, and actually got so high that it breached the railroad bed and washed out a portion of the railroad bed. So this application is merely to repair those. And so the reason that it's in front of this board is that it requires special permit because of its location relative to the existing streams and water courses, and also in proximity to the wetlands. So part of it, part of the plans are to, there's provided some photographs of the area and a detailed plan about going about and taking a look at repair, and at this point, it's repair or replacement of those culverts. Not sure exactly what the issue is, need to dig it up and take a look. And so that's also part of this request. It's to do a little bit of exploratory work so that we can truly determine what's necessary. Maybe in this section that's caved in, maybe it's just, it can be repaired. Maybe once we get in and take a look at it, may require replacement of a section. Maybe it requires replacement of the entire culvert. And so that needs to be part of the investigation also. It's certainly the intent to maintain the historical significance of these culverts, throughout the entire process. They're all, they're large stone. What you see on the inlet here, once again, stream flow is in this direction. Inlet and outlet, they're part of they were constructed in the early 1900s by the railroads. So they're large stones, and that, it's certainly in the intent of the applicant to maintain the integrity of that. And if possible, maintain the integrity of the stone culverts throughout their entire length. They're approximately 60 feet in length, and they're side by side. And so associated with this, and at its deepest point, they're probably 12 to 13 feet below the grade of the existing rail bed. So it is going to require some engineering and excavation in order to not only do a little bit of investigation, but also to ultimately repair them. And so associated with that is also some tree removal, that's in the, in those areas and, where the excavation will take place. And then also, setting aside some area to handle some of the spoils or not necessarily spoils, part of the excavation, and set that aside so that we can go in and take a look at it. All along trying to, not trying to, but maintaining the, keeping in mind the historical significance of the property.
Okay. And did you indicate to me earlier that during this investigative work, you have an archaeologist on call or on observation?
Yes, been in touch. As Melody mentioned before, we did, this was also associated with another repair that's currently being conducted on the site, which is further to the west. There was an arch culvert that was also, part of the railroad bed. And that's more of a stonework repair. So in, coordination with the zoning enforcement officer, that's being done as a repair and did not require application to this board. In order to cover both of these, set up an informal meeting with a couple of the board members and the planning consultant and also the ZEO. So at that meeting, it was discussed that while this work was taking place, there would be a archaeologist on site to observe the excavation and to ensure that if there were any sensitive areas, those would be monitored, logged, and appropriately handled.
Mark, you said they're approximately 60 feet long. Would you say their cross-section was, the culvert?
3 by 4.
3 by 4.
Yeah.
And so, you're saying that they're just blocked now. They've either caved in or they're
Something caved
clogged
in.
with them or clogged up or you can't see through them anymore.
Water still flows through.
Okay.
There's still
Some flow, but it's
there's still a flow, but it's
obstructed.
restricted.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so, the obvious part was, in the railroad bed where, it's caved in, the railroad bed is depressed.
So the plan is to come in from one side and just keep on excavating until you find the obstruction, or?
Well, we'll start where the obvious obstruction is.
Okay.
And then open that up and then open up the ends and see whether or not there's, allows for passage. And in doing that, planned on actually just, so here's the railroad bed, just taking away some of the soil over the railroad bed, setting it aside to, once again, try to put the railroad bed back intact the way that it was,
You said it's like 14 feet, so this is more than backhoe work and.
Yeah, it's to do some excavation, like with a bulldozer, to grade out a certain area, get it down to a certain elevation, and then go in with an excavator to reduce the side slopes and create a safe excavation so you can go in and take a look at it.
Now, the railroad bed, for those of you who may not be familiar, is the one that starts down where the Rhinecliff station is and actually came up through the Koff property that
Right.
we just looked at.
Right.
Continues up through here, crosses, and goes all the way up through Phantom Gardner and continues on into Connecticut. So the roadbed itself it has its own significance as a historic feature. And I know that prior town planning boards and others have long been concerned with the preservation of the rail bed, because in some communities, they're successful in being able to open those up to public use, as you've seen in the Harlem Valley or other places. Now, no current owners have an interest in that, but we're interested in making sure that it could happen at some point.
But it's certainly the intent of the owners and applicants to, once again, to maintain the integrity of what's there.
Right.
That stays throughout the entire process. And then I'd also note that, so it's a repair. not looking to, if it requires some replacement, it's replacement in kind, because do not want to alter any of the, upstream or downstream flow conditions.
So it's your belief that as originally constructed, it was adequate for all the flow that was going to go through there?
Absolutely. Historically, railroad was pretty good at this.
Yeah, they were very good at those.
And so what's happened is it's just some debris has laid in here, it's restricted it, it's silted.
And it's not possible coming in from one end to clean that.
Right, it's just, and so it reached a critical point when we had this, severe
Right.
storm event, and so then it washed out a section
Kids in there.
of the railroad bed. Right, so, I mean, when you saw something like that, it just, it just.
It was catastrophic.
So that resulted in damage to the roadbed.
Actually, it did, it washed it away, and part of this, I should have mentioned, part of this is to replace that.
Okay.
That's, that section of the rail bed.
Other planning board questions?
I'll simply add to what Mark said, that you may have seen in my notes that upon my review, I noticed that the complementary application for site plan did not accompany the application for special permit. That has been rectified.
Okay, and this part of this area is not a part of that's in contention between the drives and all that?
No.
No, it's not. And then also I should note that, I mean, per the per the site meeting with a couple of members of the board and the CEO, it was recommended that, wetlands be delineated and, species be investigated. And so that work was, was undertaken and was provided as part of this application.
Okay. We have a draft procedural resolution.
Again, in deference to Ron's memo and his comment that things have been hectic, I guess that life just got in the way of reviewing certain projects. We're going to include in this resolution that same conditional upon determination by the ZEO not later than July 28th of the adequacy of the applications. The public hearing.
For Monday, August
7:05.
15, 2016 at 7:05 PM. Delegates planning board members.
I'll take it.
Woody and Sharon and I have been there, so somebody else wants to. Eric? To conduct a field visit, refers it to the Town Conservation Advisory Board, to the county, waterfront consistency review, and authorizes Art without prejudice to prepare the working draft of an EAF Part 2.
Oh, here, my pages are just mixed up. Maybe
Right?
yours are too. Yeah, I've got page 21 before page 20.
All right, may I hear a motion? So moved. Moved by Sharon, seconded by Edna. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Just a question, with regard to, is it allowed to do some investigative work between now and, the next meeting, just to like I'm coming here and saying, we have to do something. I would love to come back, to the public hearing and say, yeah, we did some, investigative work here and
How much disturbance?
How much disturbance would be required for you to know?
I think we would start in this area here, so.
Using like a backhoe or
Using an excavator.
Mark, you and I had a conversation about that earlier.
Somewhat.
And
Stone culverts?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you this
You have to
advice.
take apart the stone.
If you normally,
It's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
under local regulations, and it's clearly under seeker, you can do testing, exploration, et cetera, apart from the process as an early activity. Here, however, when you describe the extent of the excavation that needs to occur in order to do that exploration, I would say definitely no, unless Ron were to, the CEO, were to rule that that did not separately constitute major excavation
Yeah.
under the zoning law.
It'll be close. It's,
Yeah.
it's
So I
just
think,
to, like I said, to make it safe, you need to remove some soil and then go in with an excavator. So It's not,
It's
I
pretty
just,
good size.
it is a pretty good size.
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
You know, so I'd say
Trigger
it could
that.
be as much as a 40 by 60 area.
I normally see things like test wells and things of that sort.
No, it's not a test well.
This is much different. Or if you were doing a boring or two at that location to discover something.
No, I'm just,
Let's not rock the boat.
okay. Well, no, I just thought, because,
Thought you'd ask.
I'd ask, and, it's, I guess I'm just inquisitive, I want to find out what the issue is.
Happen in good time.
Okay.
The history of some of the dynamics down on River Road.
Enough said.
That's what when I said, let's not rock the boat, that was specifically what
Okay.
the direction I was
All right.
going in.
Okay.
We've got a
I'll
nice
retract.
balance of things happening, and so I think I had a motion and a second. Did I? Yes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Thank you.
Thank you. And let me also share with the planning board that, we are speaking with Mark and the owners' representatives, because they'll be looking at other projects coming forward. And one of the things that we are recommending and that they are perfectly happy to do is begin to look at this property in the same way that we looked at Grassmere in terms of an overall master plan, so that, we know all of the moving parts about what we're looking at. So we're looking forward to working with you on that and seeing things move along.
Likewise, thank you.
Not to be confused, though, with the intensity of development that's proposed at Grassmere.
No.
Oh, no.
But in terms of, it's a big property, there are a lot of activities that the new owners want to undertake, things that they want to see done, many things good, good restoration projects and other things. So, but, we want to see the totality of it at some point.
And the owners are anxious to meet and to be able to, share thoughts and ideas with this board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you'll be in touch with Eric and...
Woody and Eric. I have
Okay.
both their emails.
Tie it up for them.
Okay,
Send you 2 messages instead of 2.
Lubotsky? No.
Yes. Receiving the application or something along those lines. We do the same thing.
All right. We've got a couple more things here to try and wrap up.
Two more zoning stuff.
This is John Lubotsky, 344 White Schoolhouse Road, special use permit. Initial presentation of application for renewal of special use permit soil mining under Town Code Chapter 125 zoning and in accordance with NYS DEC mined land reclamation permit number listed to authorize continuation of mining operations within a 12.3 acre life of mine area within 54.3 acre tax map parcel listed within the both rural countryside and mining overlay districts and agricultural district 20, and related request for waiver under Town Code Chapter 120 wetlands pursuant to Section 120-8A therein. Planning board review and processing is may be timely under Town Code Chapters 120 wetlands and 125 zoning and seeker.
Mark, a single question.
Yes.
Am I correct in the understanding that the application for renewal has been submitted to DEC?
Yes, it has.
Okay. That's just simply a requirement of the local reg.
It has.
Yeah.
That application has been submitted.
Okay, the only thing I ask in that regard, on behalf of the planning board, is a copy of that application.
You have it now.
We have it now? Okay. I was gonna
It's
say, a copy of the
co-
application
copy-
be
copies of
submitted
the-
to the planning board for its file.
Copies of the application and the plans that went to DEC have been, I dropped them off to the board,
Okay.
to
You
the
beat me-
offices.
You beat me to line 2 of the resolution then.
When does the current permit expire?
Just, is everyone familiar with this site? Okay, so this is White Schoolhouse, well, everyone knows all the soil mines on White Schoolhouse Road. Here's Hilltop. So, I was looking for the location map. Vonderleith Soil Mine is located to the south, and actually, this portion of the property right here is part of Red Wing. Red Wing property extends all the way
Your arrow pointing in the wrong direction on that?
straight up. Yeah, right? And so Red Wing lands are up here, but This is a soil mine that we actually, I think it was submitted in 2006 to the DEC, and it's for John, what's that?
Every 5 years, right? 6, 11, 16.
Yeah, and so and it's specifically for John Labotsky. And this soil mine, the intent was, and it's John Labotsky is the owner, but it's currently mined by Rich von der Leeth. And so the soil mine is specifically, and there's no processing. Part of this permit process is there's no processing at the soil mine. It was merely excavation of overburden above the water table, and then also for ultimate reclamation of the property is creation of a pond. So it started with removal of sand and gravel above the water table, and then has since expanded expanded below the water table, with once again the ultimate reclamation of the property is to just be a pond. Yes, sir.
So the nature of the soil that you're talking about is sand and gravel?
It's extraction of sand and gravel, that's it.
Okay, and that will be then sold as a separate operation or taken off the site as part of that operation?
It's either if it's extracted from the site, it's either loaded into a truck to go directly to another site, or it's loaded to go to von der Leeth's soil mine for processing. If they want to process it to
Which is next door?
Basically next door. It's just a short run
So
down.
they go on White Schoolhouse Road, though, to
and then they go back into von der Leeth's mine to process it, for various materials. But that's it. That's all that can occur on that mine.
And there's no access between them without going onto White Schoolhouse Road?
It needs to go on White Schoolhouse Road. So the way that this works for both, because I think I'll be in later this year for von der Leeth, because their mining permit is almost due. Mining is, the permits with DEC are for a 5-year period. And so the town of Rhinebeck also requires mining is allowed in this area, but it's allowed by special permit. So the way that it was set up is that when the mining permits are due with DEC, application is made to the town of Rhinebeck for special permit. So the permits are in 5-year periods, as with the DEC. So the current the requirement of DEC was that application be submitted by July 15th. The mining permit is actually valid until August 15th, so they require 30 days submission prior to the end of the permit term. And DEC will review in that 30-day period, and they will, if there's comments, address them and resubmit to DEC. Understanding that DEC is understanding, because this is the second time that we've gone, well, actually the third time. There's been the initial mining permit with Labotsky, one renewal, and now this is the second renewal. DEC is mindful and understanding that it also requires a special permit consideration by this board. The mine is currently in compliance with permit. There are no issues. It's all within on this drawing, and you do have copies of this. There's it defines wetland, this darker line here, this dash, and it's surrounded by wetlands. And so there's wetland located here. Dash line represents the 100-foot adjacent area of those wetlands, and then you'll see bordered around the mine a LM, that's life of mine. So that's the life of mine that was approved by DEC and this board at the time for the extent of the mining for that property, and the total size is 12.3 acres. That's the total size of that area in the LM designation.
And the existing pond is 5.9 acres. What will be the final size of that?
It can. I think it's going to. It can extend. It extends somewhere through here. So, it's maybe at. I'll look. I didn't. I did the. Maybe it's another acre, an acre and a half at the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great. I can for the next meeting. I can bring in a copy of the original plan, which I did, which shows proposed cross sections and regrading for the pond, for the total size of the pond. It was it was designed and approved by DEC and by this board.
Is the existing pond going to be dredged deeper, or is it going to stay the same depth?
It stays the same. It's-
Disturbed from where it is now?
Yeah, it stays the same. It's just, Vonderleith, he's, just worked his way down this, and it uses a long reach excavator, so max depth you can get is around 20 feet, and that's it.
And what's going to be the final use for the pond?
Recreational, or, individual house, individual lot there. It's just, right now, it's part of it's in pasture, so it's being farmed as part of it. I think last year, or the last time Melody came out, I mean, it's beautiful site. It really
gorgeous,
is.
gorgeous
It's
site.
beautiful out there. And Rich has done a great job. No issues with DEC, as I said, and everything's very well delineated out there, so he's stayed within the bounds, and he continues to do that. So this
Keep
is...
saying Rich because Rich is doing the work for Lobotsky.
Yes, he is. And so, once again, this is procedural, just in order to make application for the next 5-year permit term, both with the DEC and this board.
So is that road, that's the only access point?
This is the only point of access through here. It's all road through here, and, you're able to drive around through here,
Yeah.
but stops.
As the sight lines on White Schoolhouse?
Sight line is fine on White
Yeah,
School.
it looks like,
It's good.
Yeah, I don't have it to
Yeah.
the south, but it's fine.
Questions? All right, once again, we have a procedural resolution. And
We're going to put the same condition in there,
and that is,
based upon Ron's comment about
so that's the conditional.
having not had the opportunity to actually
schedules a
review the
public-
detail.
So conditional upon
Determination by the CEO.
termination, schedules a public hearing on the application and related waiver Monday, August 15th.
Yeah, there's a waiver here associated with, Mark did not discuss the waiver on the freshwater wetlands aspect.
Right, yes, I forgot to mention that. So I did request a waiver, because technically the pond is a wetland, and so we're working within 100 feet.
I was wondering about the,
We're working within 100 feet.
Yeah.
So, the previous, I can provide copies of the previous application that we made 5 years ago. And the same, actually, I think it was Art's suggestion that we did it that way, so request a waiver from an actual wetlands permit. So that is now also included as part of the application.
So that's what that waiver's about. It's got nothing to do with technical submissions or anything of that sort.
For Monday, August 15, 2016 at 7:05?
7:10.
7:10.
I think we're up to 7.
Directs the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause the noticing. Delegates planning board members,
I could go.
Sharon and Eric. To conduct a field visit to the soil mine and report their observations. Refers it to the Conservation Advisory Board and authorizes Art to prepare the working draft of an EAF Part 2, a related seeker resolution, and an approval resolution incorporating any recommended conditions. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Sharon, second. Second by Edna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, I think what I'll find upon further checking this is that there will be no seeker resolution by the planning board, because I trust that DEC is maintaining lead agency status on this. They do maintain that with respect to all soil mining applications.
I believe so.
We'll just confirm that.
Okay,
All right, thanks, Mark.
thank you.
Lastly, before we go into some ZBA referrals,
I don't,
Glen Birnbaum, Stone Church Road, subdivision plat, sketch plan conference, and if timely, in consideration of pending review by the ZEO, initial presentation of application for subdivision plat approval for a proposed lot line alteration involving a Stone Church Road parcel enumerated by a conservation easement held by Winnicke Land Trust and being the subject of a pre-submission conference conducted in July 2015, Planning Board review and processing as may be timely under Town Code Chapter 101, subdivision of land and seeker. Good
Okay.
evening.
On this project, I'm in a little bit of a catch-up mode, too, because the submission that was made by Marie's office was not sent my way. And I see that Ron has no comments on it. So, I know it's only a lot line alteration, and you and I discussed it, I know, with Mr. Birnbaum a number of months ago, if not a year ago. Anyway.
I don't know what to do. I've never been here before. Marie couldn't make it. She called me up and said, come in and do this. What do you need to know, and I'll tell you.
Okay.
You have to ask me any questions you want.
There is.
I do have a picture
There was
if
a
you need
copy
one.
of the plans in my box today, but beyond that, I don't. Again,
Would you like to use this?
I can just walk over there and show you.
Or you could put it up there so everybody can see.
Yeah, this is. The issue here, the issues here related to the conservation easement that was held by Winnicke or Scenic Hudson or somebody, if I recall.
And it was getting closer
Okay,
to
hold
certain.
it. Let's see. I trust members do members have copies of the?
I just gave you my map.
Okay. Lot line alterations on Stone Church Road, Crosby Lane, new lots proposed. Decided just by acquiring land from R.V. Morris.
Boy, it was so long ago when we had this and
Yeah, I
Art and I
remember-
are trying to dig back, it's a year ago.
Acquire a 9-acre parcel from adjoining landowner to become part and parcel with applicant's 3 acres by consolidation and maintaining conservation easement affecting the 9 acres. And we were looking for, that's what I was talking about, the conservation easement.
So
And
is
we
the
were looking for assurance by the holder of the conservation easement that that the consolidation was acceptable.
Does that easement remain on
Because
the
it was
9 acres, or does it go,
moving.
does it
Sure,
go
no.
to the other acres as well, then?
No, it's just whatever land was in it.
Morris's lands.
Right.
This is part of Morris, parcel
Oh,
A. So Winnicke said, okay, you can do this deal. And they even said you could carved out a little spot where they could build a house, but he doesn't want to build, he just wants to make his lot bigger.
He's expanding it to.
So Winnicke has been involved in this process, and there's some paper somewhere that shows that.
So there's a building envelope
No,
on
there's-
the
he lives
larger
here.
parcel?
Okay.
Birnbaum lives on Lot E,
Uh-huh.
all right? And he wants to buy this 9-acre piece to make his lot bigger.
Right.
He doesn't want to build, he doesn't want to change it, he just wants to own it.
Okay.
And then he's going to consolidate them into one parcel, so there'll be one tax parcel. So then if he wanted to build, he'd have to come back to you to do anything he ever wanted to do if he wanted to change it.
Right, but I understood you to say that on the 9-acre parcel, Winnicke was allowing one,
Winnicke was saying that if you had to build, you could build here, but you'd still have to go through you, and he can't build without you guys.
so
Right?
there's a
I mean,
building
so,
envelope on
so
the
there's a
9 acre.
building envelope that they created somewhere on that property.
Okay.
Does Mr. Birnbaum intend, or you may not, no, does he intend to build something
No.
there?
There's no intention to build anything.
Okay. And is there a letter from Winnicke allowing the conservation easement lands to be subdivided? So, and transferred in part to?
Yes, there should be such a letter there. I don't know.
Yeah, I see a copy of it.
I haven't seen
And
it.
that's in the RC5 district? Is that RC5 district?
I don't see anything from Winnicke in
I
the
don't,
packet.
I see a copy of the easement, but I don't see any authorization letter of any type. Conservation easement, no. Conservation easement, no, there's nothing that, oh, that, Norris easement, line adjustment. This is probably what we saw. Lot line adjustment.
The 9-acre parcel
Yes.
Is it part of a larger parcel?
It's a part of this great big parcel that says remaining land, this 130 or 140 acres.
Okay, so they're cutting off 9 acres
Yep.
from a large parcel that has a conservation easement.
Yep.
And the conservation easement will stay on the 9 acres that's being carved off.
Assuming that Winnicke has agreed to that.
Assuming Winnicke has
which we don't
authorized the
have any
subdivision.
documentation.
But we have no documentation.
But usually they don't care so long as the conservation easement.
Sale. Morse easement draft lot line adjustment. Yeah, Winnicke.
Well, Shannon is with Winnicke.
Yeah. File that draft line.
It doesn't constitute.
I don't see this being, parcel, where is it? The configuration is,
It won't be on that.
it says it is down here. So Birnbaum's up in here.
This is Birnbaum.
Yeah, Birnbaum's here.
Here, way down in here.
Yeah, okay, and here's the, this here is the boundary of the parcel that's being
Right.
combined.
Yeah. If you look at the tax map,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
you
you
can
see
match
it.
it up.
Yeah, it matches up. The only difference is that, is this parcel.
No, that's their.
That's
their
another, that's a
little
building,
envelope
that's a
that they
building
send,
envelope
yeah.
within that. Okay, so the parcel that's being conveyed includes a prospective building envelope that's been authorized by,
By Winnicke.
by
but not
Winnicke.
you.
Is the building envelope on the 9 acres?
Yes, it is.
It is.
So, and now, therefore, it's removed from the other 100-something acres. Is that correct?
From the other 66 acres or whatever it is.
Isn't part of the conservation.
Yeah.
So that, in other words, it doesn't, okay.
There's,
Part of the parcel.
yeah, what it isn't stated here, what is not stated here is there's a map of a draft lot line adjustment prepared from GIS, on GIS hardware or software or whatever you want to call it, by Winnicke. What is not shown here is any indication that Winnicke has signed off as to this adjustment, and also whether in authorizing the subdivision, Winnicke has maintained the building envelope on that parcel. It may be a trade-off. Sometimes when you're dealing with an easement, a trade-off is in order to authorize something further to occur with respect to the property, you give up something, because there has to be, with the conservation easement, there has to be a trade-off. There has to be equal value
In order to change the conservation.
in order to change the easement. So in order to receive compensation from Birnbaum for the 9-acre piece, Winnicke would have to
Hold back some.
pull, yeah.
It didn't necessarily, but might have.
No,
Well, they would, under IRS regulations,
they
it would
would
have to
have
be
to.
balancing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you want to proceed tonight?
I don't see any reason not to proceed. There could be a, subject to the receipt of a letter from Winnicke.
All right.
Yeah.
Clarification from Winnicke at the next, by the next meeting.
All right.
So that we don't want just their sign off, we want to know if they did
We want,
remove
They
that
have
lot
to,
from the...
there has to be a letter of authorization from Winnicke for to Morris to allow the subdivision of his lands and the transfer of the subdivided portion to Birnbaum.
the agreement, as it exists now, is between RV Morris and Winnicke. And Winnicke has to, in effect, release her to subdivide this property.
Exactly. And then the question is,
Okay.
are there conditions attached to that, like the elimination of the building envelope?
Right.
Unfortunately, Marie may have all the answers, but she's not here.
No, that's the way it usually is.
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
All right, so we have a draft procedural resolution, and we can fill in the blanks in the first paragraph.
You can fill in the TMPs. The map is entitled Amendment to Filed Map 5409, Lot Line Alteration. And the date on the map is June 27th.
All right, schedules, again, are we making it conditional, or are we just doing it?
I think we just, make it conditional.
Okay, so
Make it
conditionally
conditional,
schedules a public
and
hearing.
we can continue the conversation that we had earlier.
For Monday, August 15th at 10? 15?
7:15.
7:15 PM. Delegates planning board members.
I'll do it.
Edna, I will go. Refers it to the Conservation Advisory Board and authorizes Art to prepare the working draft of an EAF Part 2. May I have that motion?
Done.
Woody, seconded by? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being so patient.
Coincidentally, the reason for moving some of these matters forward conditionally this evening is to, one, avoid a future queue, but secondly, in recognition of the fact that no one wants to schedule a second meeting in August, and there's no opportunity to schedule a second meeting in September
because of Labor
the
Day.
first Monday is in fact Labor Day, and the other two Mondays are tied up with the town board. So there would be huge deferrals if we didn't move these things along as best one
Even
can.
though we're just kicking the can down the road a little bit.
So we have a few last-minute things to finish up here. And if we're really good, let's do it quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we've got a couple ZBA referrals. Art?
This young lady here for
Hmm?
This young lady, is she waiting?
I don't know. Are you waiting for? Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Can we do that first?
So first up, the ZBA referral, Solomon?
Solomon is the matter of the 10-foot
Fence.
high fence, supposedly deer protection, or whatever you want to call it. And as Ron has pointed out to the ZBA and the applicant, even if the variance is granted for height by the ZBA, the matter still comes back to the planning board for special use permit under the current law. And I've just suggested in a draft recommendation that the planning board point out that you'll be giving consideration to matters of fence type, color, and location when that application comes back to if it comes back to the planning board. I know that there was some concern expressed about any of that location that might be within the viewshed of River Road, et cetera. And I see a sketch has been submitted, and it's a pressure-treated post and some
Galvanized wire.
galvanized wire, and I'm not sure what's on top. There's some kind of
know it-
strand. It looked almost like,
Electric.
Yeah, it looked like
I
electric.
hope it wasn't barbed, which is not allowed.
I think it was
But it had that
It was
appearance.
electric looking like it was going, horizontally.
Feet, that's a pretty
Yeah, we don't have,
jumping deer.
we don't have elk here, so.
Yeah, but, you need something above 6 feet for sure to stop a deer.
Oh,
so-
yeah.
Exactly.
So, but my understanding is that this is not going to be in view of either the river, the road, or any of the surrounding properties.
There's no plan submitted.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing,
Well, they show it on the site
And,
plan.
how's it going to be strung between it was mentioned as being strung between trees. I didn't.
You mean using trees for the?
Yeah, but the drawing doesn't show that. The drawing actually shows, I would say, pressure-treated post. And how does it relate to the uplighting?
I think they're locust posts.
Okay.
Anyway,
We have a referral draft here. Have you all had a chance to look at it? Could I have the motion?
So moved.
Done.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Timely signs.
Looks good.
Same thing. What you got here is an application for
Almost.
variances with respect to the area signs, principally based upon the fact that the commercial location, the commercial business is located in the RC5 district, the Bathrick operation. And it seems like the only issue here is that when the application for a sign permit comes back to the planning board, as it has to from the CEO, if the variance is granted, you're going to give careful consideration to this town design guidelines.
Is that the Rhinecliff sign?
This is,
No, this one is.
actually two
equipment.
signs. It's
This is
a
the equipment
wall
on-
sign and a freestanding sign.
On
on the-
9G.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, around the corner from the
Yeah.
auto dealership.
Ms. Bathurst.
You have a motion?
Mrs.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Eric, second by Sharon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. All right, and lastly,
You all received copies of the sketch, right, of
Right.
the Nina sign?
yep. And we have a recommendation here brought forward by you. Sorry, it's such a long evening.
We're going to take a 20-minute break. You don't mind?
Yeah, right, you don't mind, do you?
Opinion on my part that it's consistent with the town design guidelines, and suggesting that you might find likewise.
That's why they have three guys. Whoops.
You know,
Styling.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't reschedule Solomon? We didn't reschedule Solomon?
No, because of the,
Technical.
because of all the homework that we agreed to this
Okay,
afternoon.
just
That-
wanted
no,
to
that's-
make sure.
no, That's why that was not rescheduled.
Okay.
Yeah, there are two or three things in there that, you know.
Okay.
Well, obviously, the
Hi, my name is Lauren Zavalt, representing Nina Isabella for Nina Styling and Interiors. We'd like to hang a sign on an existing sign or a signpost at 2 Charles Street. That's it.
There's currently a sign there, isn't there?
No, there's not a sign there.
There one time?
There was
There was a
previous
sign there
business-
for Hedda, I believe.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
They took that down? Okay.
Yeah, I have pictures.
4.8 square foot hanging sign. And the motion that Art has made is the 4.8 square foot hanging sign, subject to the application for Nina Styling and Interiors, is well-designed and consistent with town design guidelines. Planning Board recommends the requested sign permit be granted.
Yay.
Yeah, well, after.
Yeah, why not?
So who's going to make the motion?
I'll motion.
Sharon, Woody, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions.
Nice sign.
Thank you.
real nice sign. Real nice sign.
Yeah, it was a nice sign. Anything else to come before the planning board? Please, no. Woody?
Ice cubes.
Woody,
Motion
motion
adjourned.
second?